One man is being victimized by our own government. One man whom they fear, yet who millions love. One man who is willing to take the poison arrows of lawfare. One man whose voice has been taken away by a corrupt judge operating in a corrupt system. One man who has been ridiculed and insulted. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who stands between us and them. One man that wants to see America protected again. One man who wants to see America prosper again. One man who understands that a man is a man and a woman is a woman. One man who understands and protects the blessing of life. One man who wants to restore American exceptionalism. One man who once again wants to make America that shining city on a hill for all to see. A place where all the people of the world glowingly set their eyes upon. America. One man who unashamedly wants to make America great again. That one man is Donald Trump.
This is Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
Good afternoon, everybody. President Trump is going to be talking about the economy today in Detroit. It looks like he's not scheduled to make his speech until 2 o'clock, but it appears as though he's going to take some questions here in a little bit. I'm going to see if I can make sure I can pull this up when he comes to the microphone. But he's touring a Ford plant right now, and he's just walking around up there. Secret Service are walking in. I can show you. Let's go ahead and just pull this up because he's about to come to the microphone and take some questions here in Detroit. Just want to say thank you. I got a whole bunch of texts and emails from everybody asking about Robin's sister. I just found out literally about 15 minutes ago that we were worried because her heart surgery was supposed to be done by like 10 o'clock our time, but I just heard like 15, 20 minutes ago that she pulled through fine. Everything went well. So thank you for your prayers and thoughts in regards to that. I didn't fare so well, as you can hear in my voice, dealing with those two little mutts at home, driving me absolutely crazy. But in any event, we got through the night. We're here. As you can see on your screen, President Trump is walking up with a bunch of Ford people. He's getting ready to not take some questions, but he's going to talk about the economy. So just to let you know before he starts, we're going to be talking about prosperity today. So if that's not something you're into, maybe now might be the time to go look at something else where they're crying or whining and you're talking about black pill stuff and how life sucks, because that ain't going to be happening here today. All right, let's listen in on what President Trump has to say. And again, this is before the actual talk. This is just his tour.
Percent now, John. So they have come down, but still up a bit. Let's listen to the president.
So this is like auto workers today. Thank you, everybody.
All right, so so we're at the mercy of guessing when he starts to take questions that we'll be able to hear. We'll try to match that moment.
The way that these things go, and I was with the president, it's interesting. It was the last event that I followed the president to in late October of 2020 when we visited a Ford factory where they made the Mustang. And the president was giving some economic remarks there. So typically what happens here is that the pool follows the president along as he tours the factory, and then the president at some point in the tour will wander over and make some remarks and then take some questions. We are seeing this for the very first time unfold just as you are. So as Sandra said, we're making some maybe less than educated guesses here on how all of this is going to go along. So let's turn it over to Sandra, who can give us some economic analysis with our learned associates as the president is chatting.
Well, as we mentioned, he takes questions for about 10 minutes. He speaks a bit about the USMCA, about Jerome Powell. He said Powell will be out of there soon and knocked Senator Tillis, who took issue with the way the president has been dealing with the situation. He was asked about Iran, as we mentioned. And there's a bit more, but it's a bustling factory, as you can hear. Steve Moore is with us right now, Robert Wolf. Let's get your thoughts quickly as we do await the president's own remarks here. Steve?
It's a very strong economy, as you said. Growth is up, employment is up, inflation is down. It's not quite where we want it. We wanted it at about that 2% target. We're at 2.7%, but that's vast improvement. Gas prices are low. Look, Trump should be speaking nonstop about what I think is the start of a real economic boom in this country.
Robert.
Well, just to quote Steve Moore today in Wall Street Journal, he said the voters have a problem where costs are on health care and food and housing. And we saw today's number. Yeah, the overall number, 2.7% and 2.6%.
These guys will speak negatively about everything. When they say the voters, let's just put this in perspective. Whenever I see people say it, American people, the voters, and things of that nature, they should have to qualify specifically what they're talking about. They're talking about a sliver of people who just want and expect to be given to. You know, one of the problems I'm having with the panicans and the so-called grifters and black pillars is I don't know how, and I couched my words this morning as silver is flirting with $90 an ounce. It's right about there, 86, 88, 89. It's flirting with $90 an ounce right now. We are seeing massive amount of prosperity if people will actually take the time and look for it or realize that opportunity. Opportunity knocks, but it doesn't come in and just do everything for you. And as I watch some of the people who are constantly blackpilling, and yeah, he's talking.
Fantastic thing.
That's fair enough. All right, guys, we got to take the president.
24-hour shifts. And Jim Farley, you know, everybody knows Jim. He's a legend in the industry. But they're just saying their business is better than ever. They're doing 24 hours, Jim, now, 6 days a week. And they do expansions, and they're building more plants in the United States because of tariffs. And Jim said, and Bill very strongly confirmed, they've never seen anything like it. In all of the years that they've been in business, they've never seen what's happening now like it. So it's a great honor. But so this plant, you might talk about it. This plant goes 24 hours around the clock. Before it used to go 3 hours around the clock.
No, it will. So we're adding a third shift, and it's going to be running, as the president said, 24 hours, 6 days a week. And that just shows the demand there is for this product, which is the best-selling product, as you all know, in America, and it just gets hotter and hotter. So we have a great relationship with the president and his whole staff. They've been great to work with for us. He personally is incredibly responsive. Every time we need something or call, we very much appreciate it. And you know, we couldn't be more excited. We're adding market share. We're growing as a company. We're adding jobs, not just here but elsewhere. Yeah, times are good for us.
And all of the U.S. automakers now are doing great. And before they were having a really hard time. You couldn't. the environmentalists would not have let them survive.
So, Mr. President, when you renegotiate USMCA, how is that going to help autoworkers like Ford?
I don't even think about USMCA. I mean, I want to see Canada and Mexico do well, but the problem is we don't need their product. We don't need cars made in Canada. We don't need cars made in Mexico. We want to make them here. And that's what's happening. Everybody's moving here. From Canada, they're coming here. From Mexico, from Japan, from Germany, from all over the world, they're coming here. They're opening up their plants. Bill is lucky because he's had a lot here, but when he doesn't have it here, he's moving here. They're doing big expansions for it. But they're all doing great. The car industry is exciting, and to be honest with you, Bill, every industry is exciting.
Yeah.
Just like this.
Well, we need to rebuild our industrial base, and that's been a priority of yours.
And we're adding a combustion vehicle, a combustion truck, affordable one in Tennessee to the president's note. That's what these policies are doing for Ford. We're going to actually expand one of our existing plants and make a different kind of truck there.
The tariffs?
Yeah. Tariffs? Yes, and the EPA, the relief of the
tariffs and the relief I gave them from the most ridiculous standards. We had put 3 computers on a car in order to save about this much gasoline from a glass. It was crazy, but very proud of them. And Ford has really been a leader. They've done a great job. But all of them. General Motors is doing really well. Stellantis is doing really well. We're really happy about it. I just wanted to build their product in the USA.
You don't think you're going to renegotiate USMCA?
Well, I can. It expires very shortly, and we could have it or not. It wouldn't matter to me. I think they want it. I don't really care about it.
So it might go away. So you're talking about getting rid of USMCA.
No real advantage to us. It's irrelevant to me. Canada would love it. Canada wants it. They need it. Because we don't need Canada product. That's the thing. I want to be a nice person, but we don't need. I want to build the cars here, not in Canada. We used to build cars in Canada. Now, the Canada cars, the Canadians are moving here to build cars. Same thing with Mexico. Same thing with Japan. Japan's paid us billions and billions of dollars for the privilege of making cars here and selling cars.
Mr. President, what about the raw materials?
Auto manufacturing that you would like to see in the United States satisfied with the level where it's at right now.
The quality is unbelievable. So we're at a Ford 150 plant, and I don't know that much about cars, but I know how to get people working. And all I can tell you is that people talk so much about the 150, and it has been for a long time. They make a great product, a quality product, better than anybody else can make in Europe or in any other location. Look, the Ford 150 has done well for a long time because they make a great product.
Have you ever allowed Chinese autos into the U.S.?
Well, as you know, we have a tariff on Chinese autos. And in Europe, China's taking over the auto business, I would say, is a nice statement, but that's the way it is. And here, what is it, 100%? We have a 100% tariff on any car coming in from China. So that makes them able to do very nicely against China.
Mr. President, what about the...
Pretty good, right? Who would have thought that was going to happen, right?
What about the raw
Everybody
materials?
said that the cars are dead in the United States. If you go back 4 years ago into the middle of the Biden administration, everybody was closing up their plants. Now we have more plants being built in our country than at any time in history. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. And it's the election, November 5th, and it's other things, but it's also, I think, maybe the biggest part, the election, because I'm the tariff person. And everybody now admits that I was right on tariffs. And I hope that we win the Supreme Court case.
Mr. President, what about the raw materials coming in from countries like Canada? How do these companies deal with the fact that those...
Well, we get it, but we have a lot of our own raw materials. And, the word raw and rare are a little bit of a misnomer. They're not very rare. We have a lot of places that want to sell us material, and we get it from a lot of different countries, and we have a lot of rare earth and raw materials.
Senator Tom Tiller says that the subpoena, the grand jury subpoena to the Federal Reserve Chairman was a little excessive. What do you think about that?
Well, that's why Tom's not going to be a senator any longer, I guess, right?
Well, what do you think?
But I like Tom Tiller. He's a nice guy. But look, he's not going to be a senator any longer because of views like that. We have a bad Fed chairman. He's bad in a lot of different ways, but he's bad because his interest rates were too high. And today we had a great inflation report. And today we had a really great growth report. So we have great growth and low inflation. And we're doing very well.
Do you think there's going to be a rate cut, though, with the inflation?
I don't know. With this guy, you don't know. He's got some problems. But what he also did, he's renovating a small building. It's the most expensive construction job in history, and it's only a renovation. I could have done that job for $25 million. They're spending billions and billions of dollars. He either doesn't know what he's doing, or it's worse than that. And you know what I mean by what. So hopefully he'll be out of there soon.
Does it impact your timing on naming a Fed chair?
No.
When do you expect to do that now?
I don't know, sometime in the next few weeks.
Are you getting closer?
Of the big three, Ford makes most of its products right here.
80%.
80%. That's a big advantage for Ford.
Is that the reason that you came here?
No, I came here because we're friends, three of us, because I have helped the company a lot. As an example, trucks. I put a 25% tariff on trucks coming into the United States, and their truck business went through the roof.
You said to Iran this morning that help is on the way for protesters. What did you mean by that? What kind of help?
You're going to have to figure that one out. I'm sorry.
How many people have been killed in Iran?
Nobody's been able to give me an accurate number. I have heard numbers from everything's a lot. One is a lot. But I've heard numbers much lower, and I've heard numbers much higher. We'll be knowing. We're probably going to find out over the next 24 hours. I think it's a lot.
In your first term,
it's too many, whatever.
oil average around $53 a barrel. Is that the target for you for this term?
I'd love to see that. Yeah. We're at 68. We're at 58 now. I'd like to see 53. Thank you very much. I would say they could. It's not a bad idea. I think they should get out.
Mr. President, this is the basketball game. How are you doing, Mr. Trump?
All right, so you took questions there for about.
All right, so that was before the speech that's about to come on. He's going to be coming on at 2 o'clock to give the actual speech about the economy. One of the things I was starting to say about the whole economy thing, let me just make sure I've got this set straight up, is I think a lot of people look at things from quite the personal perspective. President Trump, as you obviously know, is a president for the entire country. To look at things just in your zip code is not really looking at things correctly, because of course there's going to be fluctuations depending upon where you live, especially, and it's maybe not it's what people want to hear, especially if you live in a Democrat-controlled state. I've told you many times, go find out from a gas station how much the taxes are that they're putting on top of each gallon of gas. Same thing with the oil. You have to look. But here's the part that anybody can do. You can offset what the Democrat governors and politicians in your city will do if you take advantage of the other opportunities that are made available for you. You just have to think outside the box. If you're going, oh man, things suck. Where I live, the gas is still high and some things are high at the grocery store. Well, then why don't you work on doing other things to take advantage of the prosperity so in the interim, it's offset? I don't expect everybody to be like we do down here. It's completely different. I understand. I don't expect everybody to be in the real estate business and go out and buy houses and sell houses and things of that nature. I don't expect everybody to be able to buy silver and gold. What I do expect, and I want to make sure every one of you guys know, is there's got to be some vehicle, some trigger that you can use in your personal life to improve where you are right now, to offset some of the things the Democrats are doing. You've just got to open your mind. You may not be in a position to open a business. You may not be in a position to invest, but you're probably in a position where you could go to, and I literally have seen people make a lot of money doing this. Going to a flea market and selling your old stuff, or going to a flea market and buying things and then reselling it at another flea market. You just have to have the vision to look. I remember when I used to do the social media marketing stuff, and one of the guys that was big in social media, he may still be big, I haven't checked out in years, was Gary Vaynerchuk. And Gary was showing people how every Saturday, and this guy's worth millions, every Saturday he would go to flea markets or garage sales, and he would find things that are undervalued and then resell them, often making $200 or $300 in a day. Not because he was a millionaire, just because he got his ass up in the morning and went and poked around to what people were getting rid of and realized it was a way he could sell it. You're only limited in this prosperous economy, and it is prosperous, by your own mindset. And then once you begin compiling, then you can expand. Then you're like, you know what? I'm going to go buy a couple ounces of silver. I just made an extra $400 or $500. You know what? Let me buy 6 ounces. And then do it again. Let me go buy 6 more ounces. And until such time as you become a little bit agnostic to what's going on in your personal market. Trust me, it would be much more advantageous for you to do that than to sit on this thing all day and say, life sucks, Trump sucks, oh my God, I didn't expect this, I wanted more. No, people ask me, what did you expect? And I, if you've never heard me say it, let me tell you what I expected President Trump to do and why I am such a President Trump fan. Wasn't the Epstein list, wasn't the arrest. None of that stuff changes my life. None of that changes Robin's life. None of that changes Ashley's life, nor the grandkids. So I knew going in when I voted for President Trump, let's focus on those things that he is going to allow us to do things better in our own lives. And the biggest thing was get government out of the way. I'm the type of guy that if I can see an opportunity and I don't need to be bogged down with government, I'll do okay on my own. I don't need the government to give me anything. I don't want anything from the government. Just get out of the way. I'll take care of things. And if getting out of the way is just, reducing taxes, if getting out of the way is making sure end of year capital expenditures are able to be written off, those are things that they're not, just move. And I'll take care of the rest. I think too many people are looking for things. Even some of them are faking that they're looking for things. And it's all because they're clicking buttons on X. When I look at all the people saying, it's worse, we're going to get blown out in the midterms. And I think to myself, so what are you doing about it? If you think we're going to get blown out in the midterms, what exactly are you doing? 2 things. 1, what are you doing to make sure that doesn't happen? And number 2, what are you doing to make sure that if that does happen, you're okay? And I never get answers. That tells me they're just searching for clicks. What's your life like if the Democrats take control in 2026? How does it affect you? What are they going to do that's going to hurt your prosperity and your family? And then how are you going to be protected? I can tell you right now, there's not a single one of you watching, not one, where your life or your family's life is going to be impacted negatively or positively by Bill Clinton or Hillary Clinton getting arrested or whoever. Nope. That's just, it's a sideshow. I won't even call it an appetizer because I don't even want to taste it. So if you're bogged down because, well, nobody's been arrested, Pam Bondi, she sucks, nothing is happening. Oh my God, Dan Bongino's coming back on. He hasn't done anything. And I think to myself, are you really spending hours per day posting about how bad stuff is? And then garnering the attention of other people who keeps saying how bad things are, how nothing is happening? Is that how you want to live your life? I've never lived my life that way. I never lived my life that way when things were bad. I never lived my life that way when even back in high school or college when we were losing games. Every single day, the next day, it's like, okay, dust off. We got a game this week. What are we going to? Oh, no, it's awful. We got beat last week. Oh, no, we can't do it. I just can't do it. No, that's not what people who have motivation and inspiration and aspiration do. It's people who are weak, who seek to blame others for their personal position in life. And I'm not talking down at any one of you. I'm sitting here talking you up. I mean, you're going to hear a whole bunch of stuff here real soon about what the economy is doing. I've got some other stuff to show you as well. And when you look at this stuff, you have to say, well, how does that help my life? Well, you just saw they're at the Ford plant, and he's like, we're running 24/6 on these F-150s, the most impressive selling vehicle in America, the F-150. And then somebody said, well, it doesn't look like that in my hometown. The data centers are causing this or causing that because you're watching. There's a difference between spectating and participating. And that's why I continually say, what are you personally doing? Get out the bleachers, get on the field, do something. There's so much opportunity. Wow, that was quick. Here he comes. We'll talk about it more. Is he early? Yeah, he's actually early. So we will take President Trump as he's walking out on stage for the 2 o'clock speech. And it's actually only 1:55. So he's coming out a little bit early. Let's get to this. All right.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. What a place. I've been here before. We spoke with you before. Who knew it was going to turn out this well, though, really? I told you we're going to do a lot of things. Nobody thought it was going to turn out.
Nice looking man. Nice looking guy. And board chair Sandy Pierce. Thank you very much, Sandy. Thank you very much. And we have some very special people here. We have a man who's doing a fantastic job. I get angry at him every once in a while, but very, very seldom, because he's got what it takes. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. Scott? Hi, Scott. Hi, Scott. What a good guy. He's got a good pulse, doesn't he? Good pulse of what's going on. Thank you, Scott. He's been great. Michigan House Speaker Matt Hall. Matt. Hi, Matt. We did good in Michigan, Matt. We won the whole thing in Michigan, didn't we, huh? 3 times we won. You know that, right? They didn't give us credit the second time, but we won the second time. But we made the last one, Matt, too big to rig. Right? That's what you got. That's the only way you win races in many cases. I got to tell you, it's too bad. I think they should get voter ID. Wouldn't it be nice? The Democrats are totally against voter ID. Who's against voter ID? How can you even campaign? We are against voter ID. How do you not get voter ID? You know what it means, Matt, right? When you're against voter ID, you want to cheat. That's all. There's only one reason you want to cheat, and they do cheat. They're terrible. Michigan Senate Republican leader Eric Nesbitt. Thank you, Eric. Thank you. Look good, Eric. State Senator Jim Runstad. Jim, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Jim. Former Congressman Mike Rogers, who's running for the Senate, and he'll be a great senator. And he's going to be a great senator. He was a great congressman, and then he left. He went on to very big things. He did well, no matter where he was. And I think they took that away from you last time. I'll be honest with you, Mike. I really do. Don't like to get things going. I don't like to be controversial at all. But they rigged the election on you. Mine was too big to rig. You won. I'm telling you, you won. But you're going to do great this time. He's a great guy, actually. He's to be an amazing senator. Thank you. Thank you for being here, gentlemen. Special envoy to Iraq, Mark Savaya. Mark. Hi, Mark. Thank you. Great job you've done. This guy, he negotiates better than anybody around. Thank you. You need it. With Iraq, you need to be a good negotiator, Mark. I also want to thank Michigan's great congressional delegation. They're amazing. That's been back in Washington due to a very important vote that's coming up. They had a choice. Sir, we want to be with you, but if we're not with you, we're going to lose. But we'll still be with you. I said, no, I'd rather have you win. Don't worry about it. So we're going to win the vote. Representatives Lisa McClain, Jack Bergman, John Molinar, Bill Heisinger, Tim Walberg, John James, and Tom Barrett. They're great people, every one of them. And as many of you remember, I came here at the height of the 2024 campaign to lay out my plan to bring jobs and factories and wealth racing back to the United States and coming back to the great state of Michigan. And just a few weeks later, the people of this state and the voters all across the country endorsed that vision in a landslide victory. We won everything. We won all 7 swing states. We won the Electoral College 312 to 226. We won the popular vote by millions and millions of... Oh, it's so nice to win the popular vote. I won the popular vote all 3 times, too, but we're not going to get into that. But the first time they said I didn't win the popular vote, but I won the Electoral College. So they always said, while he didn't win, this is the way I got introduced every time. While he didn't win the popular vote, he won the Electoral College, So this is the way I was introduced for 4 years. And guess what? We said, I'm going back, we're going to win and we won the popular vote by a lot. So they can't say that crap anymore. And the thing that was most impressive, we won 86% of all counties in America, 2,700 to 525. Think of that, 2,700 to 525. And that's why when you look at the maps on Republican, Democrat, with red being Republican, as most of you know by now, I think, every once in a while you see one where they have it reversed. I said, why we do that? Well, we think it looks better. I said, look, red is Republican. Let's not try and change the voters' minds on things. Just do it that way. And the map was virtually all right. That was about the counties. That was the 2,700 to 550, I think is the exact number. Most importantly, we won a historic mandate to make America great again. And that's what we're doing. We're making America great again like never before. And now, after less than 12 months in office, this is the easiest speech to make. I have great people, and all I'm doing is spewing off what the hell we've done. Even Venezuela wasn't too bad, was it, huh? But you have people, Democrats, they say, I don't know if we should have done Venezuela. I don't know. Anybody that says that hates our country, okay? That was as flawless an attack as there has ever been. And they asked us to help them. They have 50 million barrels of oil. They said, take it. It's $5 billion. And we did. We're working with the Venezuelan people and representatives, and it's amazing. But that was an amazing situation. But we did al-Baghdadi, flawless. We did Soleimani, flawless. We did the Iran nuclear attack where we wiped out their nuclear capacity, which would have been very bad. You wouldn't have peace in the Middle East, flawless. We did them all flawless. I want to keep it going that way, too. I like flawless. Think about Jimmy Carter, the great Jimmy Carter, with the helicopters crashing, the hostages all over the place. Remember that one? Think about Sleepy Joe Biden with Afghanistan. What a disaster. The most embarrassing day in the history of our country, in my opinion. Real dope. Now, after less than 12 months in office, I'm back in Michigan to report to you on the strongest and fastest economic turnaround in our country's history. It's really been historic. There's never been, we're not 12 months, we're through 11 months. We've got $18 trillion being invested in our country. The most of any country ever was 3. We're at 18. There's never been anything like this. You are so lucky I allow you into this room to even be with me. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. The fake news will say Donald Trump thinks he's hot stuff. Right now I'm feeling pretty good, though, I will say. Oh, you're so lucky to be here. Under our administration, growth is exploding, productivity is soaring, investment is booming, incomes are rising, inflation is defeated, America is respected again like never before, and other than that, we're not doing that well. Now think of all those things I just said. Every single inflation down, growth at an all-time high, Stock market every day, 48 days in a row, 48 days during the course of 11 months, we hit a new high on the stock market, all of them. 1 year ago, we were a dead country. Now we are the hottest country anywhere in the world. And that was said to me by many leaders. By almost every metric, we have quickly gone from the worst numbers on record to the best and strongest numbers, the most dynamic numbers, and an economy that is far ahead of even my optimistic. I had a very optimistic schedule, I thought. I didn't think it was, but people said it was very optimistic. Turns out to be very pessimistic by compared to what we've done. But we'll go down as the greatest in history, greatest first year in history nobody's ever had, just based on the numbers, based only on the numbers, not based on me, based only on the numbers. Because, you know, you get these guys like the governor of California likes to say how well he's doing. California's doing horrendously, but he says how well. We base it on numbers. There's never been numbers like this. Through 4 long years before I took office, crooked Joe Biden and his allies in Congress inflicted the economic nightmare known as stagflation. How many times have you heard the word? We hit it with Joe. We hit everything. What a disaster. Meaning low growth and high inflation. How does that work? Not good. So you have lousy growth and high inflation. In fact, it's the lowest growth ever and the worst inflation in the history of our country. That is really tantamount to not having a good 4 years, right? In other words, Sleepy Joe and the people that ran the auto pen were a complete and total disaster for our nation. They were a disaster for our nation. Had they won the election less than 1 year ago, we would have been, as I've often said, Venezuela on steroids. Now I'm Venezuela's biggest fan. We're working with them, but they came down from a very high number to a disaster, a disaster. And we would have been Venezuela on steroids, and we're bringing Venezuela back, and we're going to be great for Venezuela, great for our country. We're taking in, as I said, millions and millions of barrels of oil, and now they're coming in initially on a daily basis, 50 million, and values of over $5 billion. That's in 1 day. Just think of it, the biggest ships in the world can take 1 million barrels. The biggest ships in the world take 1 million. We have 50 million barrels. We need 50 of the biggest ships in the world just to get it out. We're bringing it in to be refined. It's an incredible feeling. It's great. Winning is a good thing. We're going to work with Venezuela. We'll make that country very strong again. We'll get oil prices down even further. We have it down at about a 6-year low, 7-year low, but we're going to get it down further. Joe Biden gave us a colossal stagflation catastrophe, but my administration's rapidly and very decisively ended that. We have quickly achieved the exact opposite of stagflation, almost no inflation and super high growth. So we have the highest growth we've ever had. Think of that. The highest growth we've ever had, and we've only been there 11 months. Think of what we can do for the rest of it. But do we have wood around here? I want to knock on a little wood. They have one little, everything's plastic nowadays. It's very tough. Now we have the greatest growth, and we have, inflation way, way down. But we inherited terrible growth, and we inherited the worst inflation in the history of our country. The fake news would say 49 years. So when I say the history, they give me a lot of time, but I believe it's the history. But let's say 49 years. Would you say 49 years is okay, right? It's pretty bad. What do you think, Mr. Senator, Mr. Future Senator? I'd say 49. What sounds worse, 49 years or history? I think 49 years almost sounds worse. Maybe I'll just use it and I won't argue with these people. As of this morning, core inflation for the past 3 months has been just 1.6%. The numbers were just announced just before I came on stage. And GDP is smashing expectations with the fastest growth for this country in many years. The fourth quarter is projected at 5.4%, and that's despite the Democrat shutdown where we lost at least 1.5 points. The Democrat shutdown, we would have had close to 7. Think of that, close to 7. They were projecting to, the fakers were projecting to. And if we keep deregulating and adding more capacity, like I saw today at Ford, and if we don't raise interest rates every time good news is mentioned. In the old days, I'm probably old. I used to be up at these lecterns and I'd say, I'm younger than pretty much everybody in the room. Now I say I'm older than pretty much everybody in the room. I like it the other way better, actually. But you're too young. But in the old days, when you had good numbers, interest rates would go down. When you had good numbers, the market would go through the roof. That's the way we're going to make it again. That's the old-fashioned way. That's the right way. Today, if you announce great numbers, they raise interest rates to try and kill it. So you can never really have the kind of rally you should have. What happens and what we want, we're going to have a lot of great months, a lot of great quarters. I want the market to go up. You announce unbelievable numbers and the market goes down because they know you're going to do everything possible. In the Fed, we have a real stiff in the Fed, but that's for another day. But they raise rates. So everyone says, oh, they announced great numbers. It's great, great, great. And the market goes down because they immediately raise rates. No. When the market goes up, they should lower rates. You want to see 20% and 25%? You want to see what we can do? We've got to go back to an old standard. When there's good news, the market should go up, not go down. Does that make sense to everybody? And that's the way it used to be for most of the time. That's the way you make a country great. But our growth potential is unlimited and could be much higher if we went back to sanity. We're not doing it anymore. We're talking about the head of the Fed, and I want somebody that when the market is doing great, interest rates can go down because our country becomes stronger. See, you view it differently. Our country becomes stronger, and therefore interest rates should go down, not up. They kill every rally. If it's, no matter who, if it's beyond me as president, it's no matter who's president. You have a good quarter, and they want to kill it because they're so petrified of inflation. And growth and inflation don't necessarily go hand in hand. You can have growth and very low inflation. In fact, oftentimes growth is good for low inflation. So we're going to work on that, Scott, right? I think we're going to work on that very hard. I mean it so strongly. It's sickening. We announce good numbers and we see the stock market drops 300 points. I say, what the hell is going on? Do you agree with me? It should be just the opposite. All right, Scott agrees, so I'm very happy about this. That means if he didn't agree, I wouldn't do it. But we're already growing double, triple, and even quadruple the speed of almost every other major economy on earth. We're the #1 economy on earth, too. And the results are in, and the Trump economic boom is officially begun. It's really begun almost from the beginning. It almost begun, if you look at it, really from November 5th. You know, on another metric, just before the election, it was almost impossible to get people to join the military. We had the worst enlistment in the history of our country, the worst. You couldn't get people for the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Marines, Space Force, the Coast Guard. You couldn't get people. And since right after the election, but especially since after January 20th when we took office, we have now the strongest enlistment we've ever had in the history of our country. We've never enlisted people so quickly, so easily. And we enlist by merit now. You know, we won a Supreme Court case that said you hire by merit. You go to college now by merit. Everything's by merit. Our country became great because of merit. And we have done some job. But think of it, a year and a half ago, we had the worst enlistment in history, and now we have the best enlistment. Things like that don't happen. You might go from the bad enlistment to okay, but you don't go from the worst in history to the best in history. But that's what we've done, every one of them. And that includes police and firefighters. It was very hard to get police. It was very hard to get firefighters, and now everybody wants those jobs. In 4 years of Biden, they secured less than $1 trillion of new investment in the United States. So 4 years, less than $1 trillion. In less than 1 year, I have secured commitments for over $18 trillion from all over the world, the most ever for any country. Think of that, though. They did, and I'll tell you what, had she won, it would be a disaster because you would have had people leave. You would have not had $1 trillion. You would have had $5 trillion, $10 trillion leaving the country, and your welfare would have doubled. When you look at what's going on in Minnesota, is that a disgrace? Is that a disgrace? But we'll talk about that. Under Biden, we had the highest trade deficit ever recorded, losing more than $1 trillion every single year. How about that? It was killing Michigan, and everywhere else in our country was being absolutely destroyed. But in a matter of months, largely because of tariff income and the election result, we've slashed that gaping trade deficit by, in a short period of time, 62, it just came out, 62%. People are stunned. The fake news back there, look at those cameras rocking and rolling. No, the fake news back there is, they're very upset about it, actually, but they're stunned. They can't believe it. We cut our trade deficit in actually 10 months was when the number came out. We cut it by 62%. It's going to go better than that now. The stock market is now the highest in history since the election. We've set all of those records, and I think an all-time record that's so important to me because so many people have them is boosting 401ks and retirement accounts for millions and millions of Americans, people that are in the police departments, the fire departments, people that are construction workers. A policeman came up to me recently, a nice guy guarding me. He's a perfect guy to guard me. He was a massive guy, big, strong guy. He said, "Sir, you made me look so good in front of my wife. My wife thought I was a horrible investor because every time I invested, we lost money. And we have a 401k, and I'm up like 85%. She thinks I'm Warren Buffett. She thinks I'm brilliant. She's now calling me brilliant. It makes my life much easier. I love my wife much more now. She calls me brilliant every time." I said, "Don't worry, you're going to do even better for the next 3 years." But one of the biggest reasons for this unbelievable success has been our historic use of tariffs. There was the tariff that made America strong and powerful in past generations, and then we got off it and we went to the income tax system. Great going, fellas. You know, we were the strongest in 1887, relatively speaking. That was around the McKinley time, and Teddy Roosevelt and some others, but we were really strong. It was all tariffs. And I know what happened. Some of these countries got together and they say, "Hey, convince the United States that it's no good, the tariff system is unfair to us." And so some genius, I know who, I don't want to get into it, but some genius said, "Oh, let's go to an income tax system." So instead of foreign companies and countries paying everything, the people started paying. And then after that, you had a depression, but that was a long time. That was in like 1913, you had the tariff switched into income tax. And then in and they like to blame tariffs. You ever notice they blame tariffs? No, they brought tariffs back in 1932. They brought them back to try and save the sucker. But it was in 1929, because a lot of people, you know, the anti-tariff people. Now, an anti-tariff person is a pro-Chinese person, like Coke. This guy's fought me in every election I've ever been in, and I've kicked his ass. He inherited a lot of money, and I don't know the gentleman. But he fights me, and then he goes out and says, "I made more money with Trump than I ever made in my life." And then he supports these other people that were total losers. Gives them a lot of money, but he made more money. Everybody makes money with me. I always made money for people. And now it's tariffs that are making money for Michigan, and the entire country is stronger and safer and richer than ever before outside of that period of time. Now, if they had what was called the Great Tariff Act of 1887 or something like that, and it was a great group of people like yourselves. They picked really smart people to sit on a committee. They had so much money, they didn't know what to do with it, and they wanted to have the money given away. You know, we built the Panama Canal out of tariffs. We did a lot of things. Panama Canal was the single biggest investment, relatively speaking, that this country's ever made. Would be the equivalent of trillions of dollars today. And Jimmy Carter gave it away for $1. It was also the most profitable thing ever built. In other words, like buildings or casinos or anything, the most profitable thing ever built was the Panama Canal. And brilliantly, Jimmy Carter thought the country of Panama should have it, even though we lost 36,000 people to the mosquito. You know that, right? To the mosquito and a certain snake, which was not a very nice reptile. This was a brutal reptile. You got bit, it was over. It was just like, bye-bye, everybody. We lost 36,000 people. Malaria, the mosquito, and the snake. And he gave it away for $1. Well, at least we got $1. That's better than most of those guys do. We got $1 for that. Most expensive thing ever built, most profitable thing ever built, too. Makes so much money. Every prediction the critics made about our tariff policy has failed to materialize. The evidence shows overwhelmingly that the tariffs are not paid by American consumers, that they're paid by foreign nations and middlemen. And Scott went over that with us before, and They're paid by middlemen. They raise the thing. Countries get involved. They pay them because otherwise they won't have companies. They won't be viable. And we're the big beneficiary. Once again, the so-called experts were 100% wrong and Trump was right. People of Michigan were 100% right. You elected the right guy. If you had the other person, everybody, we wouldn't even be having a meeting today probably. There'd be no meeting. The economic club would be saying like, man, we're doing bad. This is going to be awfully tough to get people to show up. This is going to be tough, the chairman. This is going to not be a good day for us. We don't want to have, let's cancel the meeting immediately. The Trump tariffs have delivered us trillions of dollars of new investment, unprecedented new partnerships on minerals, rare earths, defense, and artificial intelligence, and historic levels of foreign military sales. You know, you have the Supreme Court now going to rule on whether or not we can use tariffs. Can you believe this? A case brought about by people that are China-centric. Foreign-centric, but China-centric. I wouldn't want it if I was China either. You know, China's one of our biggest taxpayers right now. China, would you ever believe you'd hear that? And they've been great. My relationship with President Xi has been great. But we have a group that's foreign-centric, China-centric, suing, and we'll figure something out if we don't win, but we should win. I mean, we should win. So great for national security. I ended 8 wars. Think of that, 8 wars. And without trade and tariffs, you wouldn't have been able to end any of them. But they brought hundreds of billions of dollars pouring into the United States Treasury, helped curb inflation, and helped cut the federal budget deficit by a staggering 27%. And that's only for a short period of time. The number's much bigger than that when you add in the full year. And I've told people I got into a lot of trouble because of the fake news back there. I told people, I said, tariff is my favorite word. I said, my favorite word of every word is tariff. I've loved it for 40 years. I came here many years ago. Remember, they said I didn't come here. Then they found out I did. I got an award in Detroit, in Michigan, many years ago, and still have it. They said it never happened. It did happen. Turned out I didn't notice any apology. But all I did was talk about you're losing your car industry. This was long before I ran for politics. They said you're losing. I said, why are you allowing these foreign nations to take your car? You know, you lost 57% of your car industry. The good news is you're getting it back. But I said, why aren't you using tariffs? I've been very consistent, I will tell you that, for years and years. Even as a private businessman, for years I used to, because I got, for whatever reason, a lot of publicity always. I don't know if that's good or bad, but it happens. And I talk about the importance. But I said recently, I said, tariff is my favorite word in the whole dictionary. There's no word. And I took a lot of heat. They said, what about your wife, your children? What about religion and God? What about Jesus? So I said, all right, it's my 5th favorite word. And since then, I've been fine. They hit me hard, these people, these fake news. They were killing me over tariff. He likes tariff more than his wife, more than religion. He likes tariff more than anything. What a disgrace. So I now call it number 5, and I'm in good shape. That was a rough day. It's my favorite word, and I got killed. Every word, you know, when you go up here, you take a big chance, especially me, because I go off teleprompter about 80% of the time. But isn't it nice to have a president that can go off teleprompter? When you think? Remember the speeches Joe would make? First of all, they'd last a matter of seconds, you know. Thank you very much. You ever notice Joe would always cough before a speech? State of the Union, he gets, ladies and gentlemen. And then it would be like very short. Although the one time they had him spruced up pretty good, remember, he was high as a kite. He was floating, he was up there way up. That was a bad speech. But, hey, he got through it, you know, he got through it, if you call it getting through. This country was so, can you imagine allowing 25 million people into our country, many of them criminals, many of them murderers? What he did to this country, what they did, because it was the people surrounding that beautiful, resolute desk. But just as I promised you that I've imposed a 25% tariff on all foreign automobiles, I'm standing up for the American auto worker like no president has ever stood up before. You know, those tariffs are keeping the foreign auto workers. Now, if they want to come in and build a plant and hire you and hire your friends and your neighbors, that's great. I love that. Let China come in, let Japan come in. They are. And they'll be building plants, but they're using our labor. U.S. auto factories are now seeing more than $70 billion of new investment. Think of that. They were leaving. They were all going. They were going in the opposite direction. Now they're pouring back. It's the greatest. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. And much of that money is coming right here to the car-making capital of the world, Detroit. You lost, I mean, so many places. Since I took office, Ford has announced it will invest $5 billion across its Michigan and Kentucky plants, creating 4,000 new jobs. GM is moving production of the Chevy Blazer and Equinox from Mexico right back here to America. Right? Is my favorite auto worker here by any chance? You know who I'm talking about? What happens? Where's Brian? Brian. Oh, I see. He made some cash. He's out to Florida. Oh, he's been very disloyal to Detroit. We're going to have to. He is such a great guy, right? Man, that guy fought for me when it wasn't the popular thing to do. He fought for me from day one. Well, you tell him I said hello to him, all right? That guy, he got it. 4 years ago, he got it, right at the beginning. He understood it better than anybody, better than the great economists. They had no clue. And Stellantis is investing $13 billion to expand its U.S.-based manufacturing plant by more than 50%. Stellantis doing a good job. Never before has an administration achieved such sweeping and dramatic turnarounds as has taken place just in this very short period of time. I mean, you're talking about 11 months. 11 months and you have a different business. 11 months and you're booming. I just spoke to an AI guy, and that's booming too. You know, we're leading China in AI by a lot. I'm letting them build their own electric plants because people are saying, you know, the amount of electricity they need twice as much as electricity currently in the United States for every other business, home, factory. They need double. So I said, we can't do that. And then I had the idea. When they build these $50 billion plants, I'm going to let them build, and they're already building big electric plants to take care of their plant. And any excess electricity, they'll sell it back to our country. It's an unbelievable, and therefore, we're going to build, I think if they really added, you know, you hear how much, and I have great respect for China, but you hear they're building a lot of electricity, but we are too. But we're having it built privately. They're going to own their own electric. They're becoming their own electricity producer. And when they heard this idea, they thought it was great, but they didn't take it seriously because they said it's too good to be true. But then they realized that I was serious. That we're getting them 2- and 3-week approvals. They don't have to wait for 20 years before they get rejected. You know, in the old days, they had to wait for 20 years, and then they get rejected at the end of 20 years. Guys would give up their whole career trying to get one approval, and then they get rejected. In every aspect of our agenda, we're putting America first, and nothing will stand in our way. Nothing's going to stand in our way. Nothing. So one of our top priorities in this mission is promoting greater affordability. Now, that's a word used by the Democrats. They're the ones that cause the problem. The one thing, they stick together. They don't have some of the people that we have. I don't know. It's a genetic thing. It's something in the blood. We got some real losers. Mostly great. But I wouldn't use the name Romney because I'm in his sort of territory, so I would never use that name. But all right, I'll use it. They don't have a Mitt Romney that votes against everything. They don't have a Rand Paul that votes against everything. I got him elected twice. He was a stone cold loser. I went to Kentucky where I won by a lot. I did a rally for him. Then I did another rally. He won. Then I went the second time. He won. Then he votes against all the time. It's just crazy. I don't get it. Then you have Lisa Murkowski and you have Susan Collins. Disasters. And you had a gentleman from Indiana that I don't believe it, Todd Young, he voted against. And you'd say, why are you voting against? They can't give you an answer. They're unable to give you an answer. It's like, why are they against the attack on Venezuela? They're against the attack after they found out it was the most successful attack, probably the most talented, most brilliant tactically attack that we've had maybe in 100 years. And they're against it. Why? It's one thing if the attack failed. I'd probably do that too. A change. I'd be in favor. Then if it failed, I'd say, I told them not to do it. That's what they do. But here we have one of the most successful attacks ever. And they find a way to be against it. It's pretty amazing. But it's a shame. And we have some others, but not many. We have a great party, but we have people, the Democrats, whether you like them or not, they stick together like glue. They have horrible policy. Thank God they have horrible policy. Because they're smart, they're evil, they're vicious, but they have bad policy. For instance, you could be a genius and try selling men playing in women's sport. You could be a genius, try selling transgender for everybody, open borders, let the world come in, let the world's prison population come into the United States, including all of the murders, 11,888. That's what we're trying to get out of Chicago and Minnesota and these places. So they stick together, which I admire because I'm a very loyal person, but they have horrible policy. Can you imagine if they had good policy? They were on this morning talking all the reasons that men should be playing in women's sports. They had a football guy there, flag football. This guy was like 6'6". He weighed 290 pounds with zero body fat. And they had a few young women. They were the size of his leg. He wouldn't have had to run. He could have just walked. They couldn't have done a thing about it. 10 of them would have to jump on him. That wouldn't have had any impact. I don't think he would have been like a fly. It's so ridiculous. It's so demeaning to women. It's so demeaning. Look at the weightlifting records. I mean, the record got beaten by 112 pounds, a record that stood for 18 years. 1 ounce they'd put on stood for 18 years. Guy comes along who was a poor lifter as a man. He was at the lower portion of the class. Comes along and broke the record by 112 pounds. Think of that. They fought for years to beat that record. How about the swimming records? I mean, you can go to sleep during the time the man comes in and the woman. You can go take a nap for a little while. How about the long distance race that took place not so long ago? Long distance, these marathon deals. They had top men, top women. The man came in. The woman came in 5 hours and 14 minutes and 36 seconds behind the man. Think of it. You're waiting. The man comes in. Now you're waiting 5 hours. What do you do if you're the parents? You go home and sleep for a while. Who the hell wants that? It's so demeaning to women and who are great athletes. It's so demeaning to them. And it's right now in the Supreme Court. I can't believe it would even go to the Supreme Court. I mean, could you imagine 20 years ago talking about men playing in women's sports? They'd think you're crazy. Or transgender for everybody. If you said there will be no mutilation on children, that's one of my standing lines. We will not allow the mutilation of a child. Can you imagine having to say that 15 years ago? People would say, is that guy crazy? Of course we won't. But we're living in a different time. It's a crazy time we're living in. After real wages plummeted by $3,000 under Sleepy Joe Biden, real wages are up by $1,300 in less than 1 year under President Trump. For construction workers, wages are up $1,800. Don't forget, they were down $3,000. Factory workers over $2,000, and for many other workers, over $5,000. And I just gave the military, because we're doing so well with taking in so much money with the tariffs, I just gave them $1,776. You saw that, right? Did you see that? They had 75, and I said, you know, if you had $1 more, $1776. They said, that was a good idea. We could afford $1 more. We gave them $1776. Meanwhile, grocery prices are starting to go rapidly down. Rent is down. Airfares are down. Hotel rates are down. Cell phone prices are down. And we're just getting started. But more importantly than going down, our growth is through the roof. It's way up. Among my first acts in office was to end the radical left war on oil and gas and stop the crusade to kill American energy, and frankly, to open up cars so that you don't have to have an electric car. I love electric cars. I think they're great. I like Elon a lot. I don't think he was too happy with my policy of opening it up, and I can understand that. But I've been saying it for 4 years. They wanted everybody to have an electric car in a very short period of time. There was no way to build the stations. There was no way to get it done. I want you to have gasoline-powered cars. I want you to have electric. I want you to have hybrids. I want you to have everything. Hydrogen, I don't know about. I'm hearing it's not testing so well. It's fine, except when there's an explosion, you're a goner. Now, have you heard that with hydrogen? One guy's trying to sell hydrogen, and I say, yeah, but, sir, that only happens 1 in 100. Oh, great. When it happens, they find the body like 300 yards down the road. So I said, I'll pass on hydrogen. Maybe there's something I don't know about, but is anybody in the hydrogen car business? Gasoline is now under $2.50 a gallon in 17 states and under $2 in many places. We have some states it's $1.95, $1.99, $1.97. As we speak, these are gas stations, and think of that. We have gas stations in the Detroit area where you can fill up for less than $2.30 a gallon, whereas 2 years ago it was $4.50, and in many places it was way over $5. Think of that, $2.30. You see it. That's like a massive tax cut, which we gave you under the great big beautiful bill, by the way. No tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime. And with our extremely successful operation in Venezuela earlier this month, that number soon is going to go lower because we're going to have a lot more energy. We're going to have a lot more, as opposed to a country that's going to be totally shut down. No fuel, no gasoline. And it's, you know, they say it's got more than Saudi Arabia. Who knows? It's got a lot. And by the way, to all Iranian patriots, keep protesting. Take over your institutions if possible. And save the name of the killers and the abusers that are abusing you. You're being very badly abused. If the numbers are right now, I hear 5 different sets of numbers. I hear numbers. Look, 1 death is too much. But I hear much lower numbers, and then I hear much higher numbers. But I say save their names because they'll pay a very big price. Then I've canceled all meetings with the Iranian officials until the senseless killing of protesters stops. And all I say to them is help is on its way. You saw that I put tariffs on anybody doing business with Iran. Just went into effect today. And I say make Iran great again. You know, it was a great country until these monsters came in and took it over. And it's all very fragile. It would have happened to us, I'm telling you. If I didn't win this election, it would have happened to us. In the coming weeks, I will be laying out even more plans to help bring back affordability. And again, remember, that's a fake word by Democrats. Prices were too high. They caused the high price. They never want to talk about affordability. They always go, this is an election about affordability. I say, they caused it. But they're good at that stuff. They're good at that stuff. They're fake, and they're good at that stuff. It's an election about high prices that was caused by the Democrats and that I brought down a lot. And remember, when you see energy coming down like I brought it down, and gasoline coming down, that brings everything else down. It's so much bigger than any other factor. When gasoline gets to be $1.99 a gallon, everything comes down. The donuts come down, the truck that delivers the donuts, the stove that makes the donuts, the whole thing, it all comes down, and it's coming down much faster than anybody can even believe. And remember, though, I always say, because, you know, normally when that goes down, the world comes down. That's the bad way of bringing it down. Our growth is through the roof. So I always want to say that whenever I say prices are coming down, but our growth is going way up. 2 beautiful events, the exact opposite of the Biden administration. As part of those efforts at Davos next week, I'm going to provide much more detail about our housing policies so that every American who wants to own a home will be able to afford one. We have some great things happening with housing, as you know. You saw the $200 billion buy-in on bonds and mortgages. This will include a ban on large institutional investors buying up single-family homes all over the country and making it impossible for people to buy a home. And I've also announced that the U.S. government is purchasing $200 billion of mortgage bonds to bring down mortgage rates, and it's had a huge impact. It's already started. And just last week, the average 30-year mortgage dropped below 6% for the first time in many years. It's coming down very rapidly, and that's not with the help of the Fed. If I had the help of the Fed, it would be easier. But that jerk will be gone soon. In addition, I proudly called for the credit card companies to cap interest rates at 10% for 1 year. because they're getting 28 and 30% and 32%. And it's unfair. The rates are way too high. To provide further relief to hardworking Americans, will also be confronting one of the biggest factors in driving up prices, the monstrosity known as the Unaffordable Care Act. You know what that is, right? It's Obamacare. It's a great name, Unaffordable Care Act. Nope. Did anybody ever think of that one before? It's true. It's the Unaffordable Care Act. Obamacare was a gift to make health insurance companies rich at the expense of the American people. In particular, the so-called enhanced premium tax credits were a corrupt payoff to the insurers, whose stock prices went up more than 1,000% after Obamacare was signed. I want the same money I want it to go directly. Very simple. I want the money, those big amounts of money paid for by the government, to go directly to the people so they can buy the health care that's right for them. They can negotiate their own deal, health care savings account, but they'll buy their own health care, and everybody loves it. That's why later this week, I'll announce our health care affordability framework that will reduce premiums for millions of lower drug prices, delivering price transparency and demand honesty and accountability from insurance companies all over the country, all over the world, actually. Healthcare costs will come down very fast with my most favored nation executive order. We're doing most favored nation drug prices. When we would have drug prices stay the same, everybody thought it was great. They're going to be coming down thousands of percents. We're standing up to special interests and slashing prescription drug prices by 300, 400, 500, and even 600% and more. I mean, think of that. On that alone, we should win the midterms in a landslide. I'm doing favored nations. The country that pays the lowest price in the world is the price that we're going to pay. And we got that because of tariffs, because I said to the countries they wouldn't approve it. The drug companies were tough, but they were fine. But they said the countries will never do it because you have a pill that sells for $10, you have to sell it for 20 or 30, so you'd have to double or triple the price of their health care there for prescription drugs. Ours would come down from $130 to $20. Theirs would go from 10 to 20, the world being a bigger place. And it was unbelievable, but the countries wouldn't do it. So I called the countries. I said, if you don't do it, then I'm going to put a tariff on you. And the tariff's going to be 20 times more than the cost that you're having to pay for fair health care. And every one of them said, sir, we agree with you 100%. We would be honored to do it. It was really rather amazing. We could never do it. So think of that. You have most favored drug prices. Your drug prices are going to go down like from $100 to $10. Nobody can believe it. And we can't get the fake news to write about it. It's the biggest thing to happen in medicine. It's the biggest thing to happen in healthcare. And I cannot get the New York Times, I cannot get anybody to write about it. When we got it done and we announced it, it was on a page way in the back of the New York Times. Same with others. They don't want to talk about it. You know why? Because it's so good. It's the biggest thing to happen. Over the past 12 months, almost every promise I made to you right here in 2024 has been kept. I've kept all my promises and much more. I mean, I've given you much more than I gave you promises, and I produced much more than I said I was going to produce. I gave you the largest tax cuts in American history, cutting taxes across the board in the great, big, beautiful bill. And as I told you, I mean, who would have gotten you no tax on tips, as I said before. No tax, I said over and over again, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security for our seniors. Any senior should be voting for us because the Democrats won't do this. It doesn't work for them. And we also made interest on car loans fully tax deductible so that when you go out and buy a car, if you have a mortgage or you get a loan on a car, you're allowed to deduct interest for the first time ever. That's never happened before. But only for cars that are stamped with the beautiful words, made in the USA. In other words, we're only letting that take place if the car is made like in Detroit or in the USA. Our tax cuts also provided 100% bonus depreciation on all new equipment and capital investments, meaning that for any manufacturer looking to bring production back to America, you can write it all off, everything. Not in 38 years, not in 44 years, in 1 year. You write the whole thing off in 1 year. That's the biggest thing there. I think that's the biggest thing. That's the big job producer. And I've cut an unprecedented number of burdensome regulations. We're number one in the history of our country in cutting regulations. I promise to cut 10 old regulations for every one new regulation. So if we put on a regulation, the only way I'll allow it to happen is if the secretary, like Scott Bessent, cuts 10 old regulations. But instead, last year we actually cut 129 regulations for every one that we put in. Think of that. So nobody's ever cut regulations like I have. I terminated the insane electric vehicle mandate and ended the war on internal combustion engines. Once and for all, those engines were gone. And some people like them. And if they like them, great. And if they like electric, if they like any form of propulsion, any way you want to propel your car is okay, except for a couple of them, as I discussed. I permanently stopped Joe Biden's ridiculous CAFE standards. You know what the CAFE standards are? They're standards that make it impossible for you to build a car affordably. They make it impossible for a car to really work right. The CAFE standards sound so nice. The CAFE standards, it's environmental standards that are impossible to meet. And we're canceling the EPA's absurd tailpipe emission standard, one of the worst ever. And I revoked the California emissions waiver to stop San Francisco communists from regulating automobiles all over our nation, all over our world. Boy, I have done so much for the car industry. It's crazy. Nobody thought it was possible to do this. And that's why your industry, and not everybody's in the car industry. How many people are in the car industry in this room, in one way or another? That's a lot, relatively. It's not bad. Another urgent priority for bringing down the cost of living is to stop the colossal fraud that is bleeding American taxpayers absolutely dry. The fraud being committed by the Somali population in Minnesota. Have you heard of them? They're lovely people. Is monumental. And California, Illinois, New York, and others are just as bad. Our country has been losing over $500 billion to fraud every single year, but those days are over. We have the best group you've ever seen assembled going after fraud. In Minnesota, we're cracking down on the Somali scams, ending the brazen and shameless theft of taxpayer dollars. Well, it's going on in Maine, too, with Somalis. You know, and they don't take our ships anymore. You know why? We hit them with the same missile that we used to hit the drug dealers coming in with the boats. You know, we have drugs coming in by sea down 97%. You've seen that? 97%. And we're trying we're really trying hard to find out who the hell is the other 3%. But we have them down 97%. And we're going to start hitting them by land, too. The hard part is done. By sea, nobody's coming. It hasn't been great for the fishing industry, however. Those that have a fishing boat, they're having a hard time getting customers. But you can't have everything. Nobody wants to go on boats. Nobody wants to go like 25 miles an hour. When you see a boat with 5 engines on the back of it going 65 miles an hour, and it's loaded up with hundreds of bags that you see cellophane with white, typically it's not fishing. How about the couple of submarines we took down? We took out 2 submarines, and the Democrats say they were fishing. No, they were submarines. They were actually, they build a very fast, it's a drug-carrying submarine. They have a lot of money. And we took them out, and the Democrats claimed that they were fishing. We shouldn't ruin people's beautiful fishing journey. It's unbelievable what we have to go through. It's really a shame, actually. We froze it all, children's payments to those states that we're talking about, and we will now require proof of attendance in order to receive federal funding for child care or any of that. How about all these child care places in Minnesota where there is no children? They go there, they get paid millions and millions of dollars. The biggest operation in all of Minnesota had no children. And we pay millions of dollars. They're scammers. They're scammers. They always will be. And we're getting them out, and we're not going to pay them. We're not going to pay Minnesota. Right, Scott? We're not paying Minnesota any more money for any of that crap. It's a big scam. It's a giant scam run by an incompetent, crooked governor. He's an incompetent, crooked guy. And also, we're freezing any and all welfare payments going to illegal immigrants that will start effective immediately. So when illegals come into California, Gavin Newsom, They come into California, and they send us bills for people coming in. We're not paying it, so we're working on that very strongly. Just don't pay it. As Nancy Reagan would say, just say no. Remember Nancy Reagan? Just say no to drugs. It's a little more difficult than that, I guess, right? But just say no. Additionally, from this moment forward, if you're on public assistance, like almost all Somalis are, did you see where 94% of them are on public assistance? You can't wire money out of the country back to your bank account from where you came. But more importantly, we probably aren't even going to give them the money anymore, the money going to them, because of the tremendous abuse and probably illegality being perpetrated on our country. We're not going to give them the money. We're not giving them the money. It's massive numbers of people are scamming our country. You know, they came from a place with nothing, and they come here and they drive around in Mercedes-Benz. You know, the Mercedes-Benz dealers do well in that area of Minnesota. Can you believe it? They have nothing. They get welfare payments, and they have Mercedes-Benzes. It angers me so much, but we're going to straighten out our country. This was done under Biden and Obama, very much under Obama. It all started under Obama. And we just can't. We've got a great country. We're not going to screw it up. But this was one of the great scams ever. They have the same thing, Somali in Maine. Who would think? I never saw that happening. But in Maine, it's really crooked as hell, too. But it's not just Somali. It is them, but it's not just. There are many other places, many other people. The whole country, if we stop this fraud, this massive fraud, we're going to have a balanced budget. That's how much money you're talking. We'll have a balanced budget without all the growth I'm talking about. And then you add the growth, we got one hell of a country. We're giving 90-day notices to places like California, Scott. Right away, we're going to send out that notice. Who would bill the federal government as people poured into the state to send those people back, because no country can afford to do it. No country can afford to take in millions of people, pay for their education, their health care, their hospitals. You just can't do it. And we all have a heart. You can't do it. But many of those people are murderers. They're people released from jails, prisons, mental institutions, insane asylums. They're people that are drug dealers. They're addicts. Additionally, starting February 1st, we're not making any payments to sanctuary cities or states having sanctuary cities, because they do everything possible to protect criminals at the expense of American citizens, and it breeds fraud and crime and all of the other problems that come. So we're not making any payment to anybody that supports sanctuary cities. We have also suspended nearly 8,000 SBA loans, Small Business Association loans, to suspected scammers in Minnesota, of which there are many. It's a great state. It was a great state. Now it's getting destroyed by that stupid governor. What a stupid guy he is. But he's a crook. I mean, he's an incompetent guy, but he's a crook. He allowed this to go. You can't have corruption on a scale that nobody's ever seen before, and you're sitting as a governor and you don't know what's going on. It's impossible, even though he's a stupid guy. We're investigating large-scale visa fraud, and the Department of Justice has already charged nearly 100 people in criminal conspiracies in Minnesota. They're all over the place. Last week, we announced that I'm creating a brand-new division at the Department of Justice, a legal strike force led by a really tough, smart new Attorney General for fraud. He's a fantastic young guy. He's so impassioned to do this properly. We intend to imprison any fraudster, politician, or public official involved in these sick plots to loot and pillage our country. Think of that Ilan Omar. She lives in Somalia. They don't have a government. They don't have a military. They don't have police. They don't have anything. All they have is murder and robbing ships, bringing in ships, pirates. That's stopped. Same missile, ping. That's the end of them. It's amazing how that can stop corruption. Those missiles, they never miss, you know. The same one, exactly the same one. But think of it. She comes from a country with nothing, and she comes here and she tells us about our Constitution. I have a constitutional right to rip off the country. I guess she's a total scam artist. Anybody knows it. How do you let her get away with it? AOC +3. She was one of the three. They're all scammers. They're so bad for our country. They're so bad for our country. Our ICE operation in Minnesota, for example, is finding hundreds of killers, violent predators, and child rapists, some of the worst criminal offenders anywhere in the world, murderers all over the place. All we want to do is get them out. Did you see the pictures that we put up? Hundreds of them. Murderers wanted for murder, wanted for the worst drug selling. One of them is one of the biggest drug dealers in the world. And vicious, sells bad drugs too. Bad drugs, like if you take a tiny little morsel, your child is dead. And we're getting them. But it's hard to get them because they make it so impossible for you. And you wonder why. Why would they do that? You know, do they want to live with murderers? Do they want to live with these people that are emptied out from prisons? They have a lot of people. One of the reasons I was so angry with Venezuela, they emptied their prisons almost entirely into the United States of America. Tren de Aragua was the gang, one of the worst, probably the most violent gang there is anywhere in the world, they say. We're getting them out. We've got a lot of them out already, but we're getting them out. We're also going to revoke the citizenship of any naturalized immigrant from Somalia or anywhere else who is convicted of defrauding our citizens. We're going to get them the hell out of here fast. And if you come to America to rob Americans, we're throwing you in jail and we're sending you back to the place from where you came. We're throwing you right in jail. And they know it, too. And one of the reasons they're doing these fake riots, I mean, they're just terrible. I mean, you see it's so fake. Shame, shame, shame. You see the woman. That's all practice. They go practice. They go to areas, they take hotel rooms, and they all practice together. It's a whole scam. We're finding out who's funding all this stuff, too. We pretty much know. But in conclusion, as we liberate our country from this cultural scourge and the plague of corruption and fraud, we'll rediscover the natural energy and native spirit that truly makes America great again, like we're doing with Detroit and Michigan. If we get rid of fraud and do our job properly on the trillions that are being extorted out of our country from corrupt and incompetent governors like Gavin Newsom, J.B. Pritzker, and Tim Walz, we will very soon have a balanced budget, and that's the kind of money that we're talking about. We're talking about massive amounts of money. Our country wasn't built by people who tried to lie and cheat and scam their way to success. It was built by legends like Henry Ford, Henry Dow, Thomas Edison, the Kellogg brothers, Alfred P. Sloan, the founder of General Motors, men who lifted up American workers and strengthened our nation beyond even belief. And we're doing the same exact thing right now. I think we're doing it even better. This is the fierce spirit of patriotic free enterprise that we're now unleashing once again. We are unleashing it like maybe never before. Together we have turned the page forever on the failed left-wing model that makes our America poor, desolate, and makes people feel sorry for us. That's what we had. We had a country where our leader was laughed at and our country was scorned. We had a country that was laughed at. They laughed at us 2 years ago. They laughed at us. They thought we were fools. They thought we were stupid people. Now we're seeing that they're not the smart ones. We are. But we have a great America, and we're going to enrich it. And foreign nations, foreign migrants, criminal fraudsters, and corrupt politicians are not going to play a role anymore. They're going to be in jail. Under the Trump administration, we're reclaiming America's dignity, rebuilding America's wealth, and we're putting the productive, hardworking American citizen at the center of every single thing that we do. They were the ones that built America, and they will build it up again, and that's what they're doing at levels nobody thought was possible. So today, after less than 1 year, our border is secure. Remember, they talked about the border, how bad? In 3 weeks, I didn't go to Congress. I said, secure our border. And they did. Remember Biden, he said, I have to get approval from Congress. Had nothing to do with Congress, had to do with respect. Our spirit is restored. Inflation is stopped. Wages are up. Prices are down. Our economy is booming like I think you'll see soon, like never before. Our military is strong and unprecedented. I rebuilt our military in my first term. Our workers are thriving and our auto industry is returning to the country where we all began and where it all began, and frankly, a country that we love. The United States is winning again, and we're rapidly making America and the great state of Michigan greater and more prosperous than ever before. I want to again thank the Detroit Economic Club. You do a fantastic job, so respected. God bless you, and God bless America. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
All right, there you have it. President Trump in Detroit this afternoon talking about the United States economy, making remarks at the Detroit Economic Club, which is a sort of historic venue in the battleground state of Michigan. A number of races ahead in the midterms in Michigan. It's always been a place where President Trump has finished his presidential campaigns up until the very last minute on Election Day. You will often find him, as we have in the state of Michigan. He told the crowd that growth.
Okay, so we got to see him dance, even though they cut the music and everything. So I don't know what you got from that, but I'm going to tell you what I got from that. He's trying to let everybody know things are much better, even though for some reason people say they're not feeling it. They're not understanding where things are and how things are better for them. So let me just take a second. Down here, Ron DeSantis has deported, he said, as much as 20,000 newcomers gone. What you're seeing happening in Minnesota, and if you can go back and look at even Tim Walz's race, and you're seeing what the numbers are, you don't have to deport 1 million people. Tim Walz, I believe, won his election by about 170, 180,000 votes. That's what Tim Walz did. You can go back and look at Amy Klobuchar and everybody else. And so you're not having to get a whole lot of people out there. You just got to bring it together. And by getting and canceling the temporary protected status of many of these people and actually getting rid of them, that's what the Democrats are flipping out about. You have to look at that entire picture and realize what are they really pissed off about? Well, they're pissed off because those are all voters. One way or the other, those are voters. And what President Trump is doing is taking a giant chisel and he's chipping off some of these voters. And they know they cannot win. In many locations, they can't win without these illegal votes. The other thing I wanted to talk to you about, I saw over and over and over and over people saying, I can't believe he's out there with Ford. Ford donated to the No Kings protest and Ford's donating to LGBTQ. And I'm like, you guys really got to watch who you follow. Seriously, you really got to pay attention to people who post shit and then they get people to eat that stuff and then you get regurgitated. Ford did not donate to the No Kings protest. What you don't realize is that you've heard people say Ford, but it's not Ford Motor Company, it's the Ford Foundation. The Ford Foundation is completely separate than Ford Motor Company. They're unrelated. They have nothing to do with each other. Even though Henry Ford started the foundation, I think it was 1940-ish or so. Ever since then, it's run as its own entity with its own group of people running it, complete nut jobs, and it has nothing to do with Ford Motor Company. And so I kept seeing the stuff in the chat, I'm like, is nobody not doing any of their own research? Are you just taking what certain people say and then re-spewing it out there and bringing it into other chats and saying, I really don't like what Ford's done. They've been doing stuff with the No Kings, and I have no idea what I'm actually talking about. I love y'all, so I try to spend as much time trying to edify people. Go look it up. It's very simple. You can put in our Ford is the Ford Foundation, currently tied to Ford Motor Company. It would literally take you about 30 or 40 seconds. And oh, I didn't know that. Somebody lied to me. It's really that simple. Verify, verify, verify. What was another thing I saw? and we're going to get into a lot of what President Trump said. I saw a lot of people talking about rent, and my rent hasn't gone down. And I'm thinking to myself, having been in real estate for quite some time, is why do you expect that your rent would go down? And right about now, there's probably people going, Barry, what are you talking about? Why do you expect your rent would go down? The only way, and it's the only way that your rent would go down, is if you're renting maybe from a nonprofit organization that just doesn't care, or you live in a place where nobody wants to live. If you don't understand the immutable laws, of supply and demand, now might be a good time to do a refresher. If there are people in the area where you currently live and they're looking for places to live, then the demand is higher. And if the demand is higher, the people who have the apartment or house that want to rent, they're going to get it to the person that wants to pay the most. That's just good business. You see, down here, let me give you a secret in South Florida. In the lower income areas, many landlords only rent month to month. They don't even want to go through an eviction process. You keep paying month to month and you're good. You don't pay, you're gone. Other people, like myself, I usually sign annual leases. And so that tells me at the end of someone's lease, let's say they rented from January 1st to December 31st, on October or November 1st, I'm going to say to them, are you going to renew? And if you're interested in renewing, here's what the price is going to be for your next year. And oftentimes, it'll be higher. Why? Because if you're buying property and you're buying it correctly in a neighborhood that it will be in demand, then of course, a year from now, it is going to be higher. So if you're expecting somehow President Trump to lower your rent, he doesn't own the property you live in. So how can it go down? The only person who can provide you, well, Mandami can try and do rent control, but that ain't going to work either. That'll get thrown out on his butt, just like the whole eviction moratorium was back when the COVID thing was going on. There is a very foundational aspect to everything that doesn't change, and that one of those is supply and demand. That's it. It's period. It's so if you live in an area where people, and you can foresee it. If you're looking in for rent area in the newspaper or online, and you're seeing the house next door to you, wow, that house just rented for like $1,500 a month. My rent's only $1,100. You might want to realize when your lease is up, the person who owns your property is going to price it the same way the one across the street just rented for. Why would I rent for less? If I already know, hey, Fred, your property was only on the market for a week and you got $1,500? Yeah, I got $1,500. First, last, and security? Oh, yeah. First, cash? Yeah. Okay, then I know. Then I know the market is telling me I need to raise my $1,100 or $1,200 a month lease to $1,500. So if you're seriously sitting back and saying, you know what, I think President Trump would be better if he found a way to reduce my rent, he doesn't have any control over your rent, unless, of course, it's a government property. That's it. This dovetails off of what I was saying earlier, is understanding the entire idea of the finance in the market that you particularly live. Which stores do you need to go to get the best deals? Where do you need to live so you don't pay as much rent? You trade off with safety. You trade off with amenities. Wow, there's a pool in this house. There's no pool in that house. This is a gated community. This is not a gated community. It's close to a busy road. All these things, and I'm not talking down because sometimes people say you're talking down, but obviously There's a lot of people who are confused about how that works. The president isn't going to make your rent cheaper. If you just remember that, then there's it takes that concern off your plate. You don't have to talk about that anymore. That's on you. That's on you to find someplace that's not going to raise your rent. Maybe next time lock into a 2-year lease. Maybe lock into a 3-year lease so you're locking in the terms. These are the way you keep your rent down, not just rolling the dice and hoping it's going to be cheaper next year. It won't be, unless it's a place people don't want to live. All of that goes back to what I was saying earlier in terms of the prosperity and opportunity that President Trump is providing isn't something that is going to be given to you. And I mentioned before, I just want the government to be out of the way. Somebody had responded to a post I had put up. I think it was about silver. And he's like, what good is it to make the money if the Democrats get back in power and they just take it from you? And as I read that reply, I realized there are a lot of people out here who haven't understood what I've been telling you about the Democrats and how they do their financing. The Democrats will talk a big game, but in essence, they do the exact same thing financially that will help them. They will use conservative financial strategies. So if they're going to be using conservative financial strategies, then I know even if they get power, I'm going to be fine. And I want to let you know you're going to be fine if you follow those strategies. Notice, nobody has done anything. I know Kamala wanted to talk about taxing unrealized capital gains, and everybody laughed at her. Not going to happen. It won't happen. They try to say things so that people will, glom onto it and think it's going to happen. It's not going to happen. And if somehow they were able to make it happen, what do you think people would do? You're watching it. I told people last night, you're watching what's happening in California right now. People with money, people with capability will move. They will go someplace else where they're not being impugned by the government. They will move their assets into certain things that are not impugned by the government. I understand that this sometimes can be kind of confusing, and then the first retort a lot of people will say is they'll put it back on me or put it back on others and say things like, well, it's easy for you to say. That only works as if the person you're speaking to got an inheritance. It's not easy for me to say. I'm telling you what I've actually done over the course of my life, the ups and downs, and figured out, go here, go there, don't go here, don't go there. And then taking a modicum of risk to get to the next level. Obviously, the older you get, the risk aversion, shrinks. When you're younger, it's like, hey, let's go all in on this. Oh, it might not work. All right, but if it does, we got a great upside. Yet as you get older, you're like, I don't want to take as much risk because I need to retain stuff, which is why gold and silver became so appealing to me. It's not risky. It's a bar of gold, a bar of silver. Even if it drops a little bit, it's still worth something. It's not going away. Your dollar can really diminish. People are going to need gold and silver. And as it's flirting with 90, you just make sure you're in at the right point. And maybe at this point, start studying some of the different things you can do with the profits that you make. How do you keep it going? How do you keep it rolling? Ashley we got to get him on again, the guy from the Pelosi tracker, and understand what moves you can possibly make on your own, slowly. So that being said, I want to cover some news from President Trump made earlier. But before I do that, I wanted to take a second. I wanted to take a second earlier, and you guys probably all know at this point, but Scott Adams passed away this morning or last night. Scott Adams, creator of Dilbert. I remember growing up in college watching not watching, but reading Dilbert cartoons. It was amazing. And then we got to know him as, I don't know if you'd call him a conservative host. Influencer, as much as he was just a straight shooter. And a lot of people didn't like him, and a lot of people did like him. I remember at a certain time, I unfollowed him because he walked the edge. But at the same token, he came back around, and one of the most important things that happened, probably the most important thing of his entire career, happened right before he died. It is the most important thing anybody can do. Doesn't matter what position you're in. This is the most important thing anybody can do. So I wanted to show this to you.
Unfortunately, this isn't good news. Of course, he waited till just before the show started, but he's not with us right anymore. I'm going to try to get through this. He has a final message that he wanted to say, so I'm going to try to read it, trying to be strong. If you are reading this, things did not go well for me. I have a few things to say before I go. My body failed before my brain. I am of sound mind as I write this January 1st, 2026. If you wonder about any of my choices for my estate or anything else, please know I'm free of any coercion or inappropriate influence of any sort. I promise. Next, many of my Christian friends have asked me to find Jesus before I go. I'm not a believer, but I have to admit the risk-reward calculation for doing so looks so attractive to me. So here I go. I accept Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior and look forward to spending an eternity with him. The part about me not being a believer should be quite quickly resolved if I wake up in heaven. I won't need any more convincing than that. I hope I'm still qualified for entry.
Back to Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
I am concerned about that, and we should not be limiting funding for Homeland Security at a dangerous time. We need public officials to allow law enforcement to do their job.
Are you confident you can prevent a government shutdown?
I am. I think we will.
So why would Mike Johnson be confident that he can avert a government shutdown? It's because I think they're finally beginning to coalesce and understand that they have got to nuke the filibuster. Either that or go the route of reconciliation or both.
Republicans in Congress can and must go it alone with the second reconciliation bill. And this RSC's framework is all about making life affordable again for the American people and putting the American worker first. It prevents illegal immigrants from obtaining all government handouts, cracks down on rampant fraud like the abuse and mess that we've seen in Democrat states like in Minnesota, and reforms funding so only citizens count when we're doling out federal funds to the states. Now, this is our moment to flip the script, restore balance for the American people, and put power back in your hands, not bureaucrats, foreign nationals, or illegal immigrants. This bill achieves more conservative wins for House Republicans. It codifies President Trump's executive orders and slashes even more wasteful spending. My colleagues and I didn't run for office to continue the status quo. We understand that business as usual will put our country out of business. We were elected to help President Trump make America great again. And with Reconciliation 2.0 in this framework, we take another giant step towards that. And with that, I am proud.
See, reconciliation only needs 50 plus 1. 50 plus the vice president would have to break a tie if it's a 50-50 thing. And so you don't need the 60 vote threshold to do reconciliation. So we're starting to see, here we are with about 2 weeks left, we are starting to see people in government realizing that it's over. We have got to stop these people. They're absolutely nuts. Now they're trying to cut funding for DHS and ICE. And so the Republicans are now saying, we've got to do this. You're putting us in a situation where we have no choice. And at this point, there's no more negotiations to be had. They have drawn a line in the sand, and they said they will shut the government down again. At this point, the Republicans have to be the bullies. I know we all don't like bullies, but at this point, with what they're doing in Minnesota, as I'm pointing to the screen, and they're still doing all that crazy stuff and wanting to defund ICE, it's enough. Get the reconciliation done, and I'm saying get the reconciliation done and nuke the filibuster. Do them both. And just do what we need to do to take this country back. Finally. Let's see what they end up doing. President Trump posted a number of things this morning I wanted to bring to your attention. He posted this. This was about Iran. Iranian patriots, keep protesting. Take over your institutions. Remember how the Democrats always say, keep protesting? Take over your institutions. Save the names of the killers and abusers. They will pay a big price. I've canceled all meetings with Iranian officials until the senseless killing of protesters stops. Help is on its way. MAGA, make Iran great again. President Donald J. Trump. Now, I don't think it's going to be a protracted war-type battle. It's not going to be that way. They are going to go in the same way, and they're going to extract the Ayatollah Asahullah and all of his ilk. It won't be hard because he's telling the people in Iran, you do the work. Tell us who is doing this stuff, and you be the eyes. You're already on the ground. Just let us know. We'll take it from there. Which should put a chill into these Iranians who are trying to kill these innocent people. In addition, he said this. Just out, great low inflation numbers for the USA. That means that Jerome Too Late Powell should cut interest rates meaningfully. If he doesn't, he will just continue to be too late. Also out, great growth numbers. Thank you, Mr. Tariff, President Donald J. Trump. I wanted to say something about all of this craziness surrounding Jerome Powell. You see Tom Tillis, you've seen Lisa Murkowski, you've seen a whole bunch of people who are complaining because President Trump or the DOJ is going after Jerome Powell. Here's what's wrong, my opinion, editorial. Here's what's wrong. The norms that these people are used to. Oh, you don't do that. Oh, you'd never do that. Don't touch that. Oh, that's not what we're here for. No, the norms no longer exist. Everything you previously relied on, forget about it. We're going to take this giant snow globe called America and we're going to shake it out. We are not going to do things the way they've always been done. I got taught a long time ago by a guy that had a lot of money. When he would buy businesses, if anybody, he'd ask a question, well, why did you do that? Well, that's the way it's always done. And he would just give a look to his assistant to write that person's name. If you answered the question, that's how it's always done. I don't want you here. And I took that for me to use too. When you're talking to people, why are you doing this way? That's how we've always done it. Let me put you on report, because that means you got comfortable. That means you've taken a job and you're getting paid every couple of weeks because you're comfortable. You've been in Congress for 20, 30 years and you've gotten comfortable. You've just come in and punched the clock and had hearings and all this stuff. You got comfortable. And what President Trump is basically, he is telling them straight up, whatever you were comfortable with before ain't here now. We are going to shake these trees and we're going to just see what leaves fall off. And that's also what's happening with the Panicans and the Black Pillars, is they're comparing everything to another person, another president. Oh, I remember when, don't say that. Everything we're seeing right now, especially in this second term, is the Band-Aid being pulled off. And also the Band-Aid being pulled off in his time. Nobody knows what's going to happen an hour from now. If everybody thinks that he doesn't want Pam Bondi around, how did you find that out? In what circles did you get the information that Pam Bondi is on her way out? Because that would indicate that the person who told you that also knew they were going to fly halfway around the world to Iran and bomb them, and you didn't know. Or that, perhaps they were going to fly all over to Venezuela and drop freaking laser beams and poop bombs, but you didn't know that either. So anytime I hear people talk about they got a source, or they've heard from an insider, there is no insider talking to you. If there was an insider talking to you, he would have tipped you off on any of this other stuff. The only thing that we're finding out on a daily basis is stuff that he wants you to know. So when he says, Jerome Powell, you're gone, we know it's a matter of time whether he quits, which he won't, or he's just going to be replaced. You notice how they keep asking who's going to be the replacement. And now the Republicans are joining the Democrats and are like, we're not going to approve the person that President Trump nominates. Why? Because they just don't like the way he's doing things. They don't like how he's upsetting the apple cart. They don't like the fact that they don't have input. I don't need you people anymore because you're just obstructionists. You've got your own agendas. Tom Tillis, like he said today, that's why he ain't going to be here anymore, which must have just got Tom Tillis's, he must have just been steaming. The president went on national television and somebody goes, well, Tom Tillis is upset with you. I don't give a F, and that's why he's not going to be here anymore. You think Tom Tillis wanted to ride off into the sunset? Nope. He knows he can't win. Why can't he win? He's a pain in the butt. So when anybody says, oh, I heard from a source, I'm pretty much like, yeah, okay, you're lying. And when I hear people say, this is the way it's always been done, or we need this customary, nobody ever, those don't make any sense anymore. You cannot judge what he's doing or what he's done based upon what other presidents have done. Case in point, Barack Obama, we're just going to have to get used to not making any money. What's Donald Trump got? A magic wand? Must be one big-ass magic wand. We never saw 5% GDP. They're talking about 6% GDP. There's nothing to compare what he does to any other president. None. In fact, you heard the speech by Obama. I should find that, where he says we're just going to have to get used to those jobs are never coming back. What's Donald Trump got? Magic wand? Maybe so. Maybe so, because none of y'all ever did 5% GDP. You never even talked about 6%. And then President Trump said something very important today. I put the note down, but I don't even have to look at it. What he said was, and I hope you caught on to it, when he was talking about the economy's doing well, and then every time the economy's doing well, they start fricking with the buttons to try and suppress it. They don't want the country to feel prosperous. They don't want the country to understand the opportunities that are there for them. When I'm talking to you, I understand why so many people think the way they do. You know why? Because that's the way it's always been. And if you've been told that this is how it's supposed to work all of your life, you're supposed to do this. And then after you do this, this is all you can gain. You're not allowed to go any further. Then that becomes what you are. See, I was always a person, I'm kicking indoors. I'm going for the gusto. I want to do whatever I want. All I just want you to do is get out of the way. And what President Trump just told you, you are, not you specifically, but people are a product of them being Oz. Turning buttons, pulling strings, just so you don't look and try to aspire to do something different. He said it. Rewind it where he said it at the beginning. Every time we start going, every time something starts going well, you watch, they start messing around. Why wouldn't you take the leash off of this financial dog and let it run? Why wouldn't you open the gates for this thoroughbred and go, man, this horse is really rocking? What in the hell are these people in Minnesota bitching about? I understand the woman got shot, but other than that, what's going on? Why are we having a Supreme Court hearing today about whether men should be playing in women's sports and not even be able to determine what a woman is? It's a crazy world that these Democrats have foisted upon people. And how do you think we're going to turn all that back, is to just stop them? You can actually go in and look at certain things on CNBC, and you could almost predict when things started going well, because automatically you'll see a dip. Whether it's profit taking, whether it's moving things around, nobody just wants to let unbridled prosperity run. And they have a whole bunch of different reasons, but the bottom reason is we can't have too many people being prosperous. It doesn't work that way. And to counter that, I would say, I don't think you ever have to worry about that, because there will always be street sweepers. There will always be janitors, and there will be proud janitors. There will be people who are fine doing this, and this job. The problem is they don't want that janitor to someday go, I want to be an engineer. I like to, twink on cars on the weekend. Then I'd like to open up my own garage and work on cars. I'm going to start with a little garage, and I'm going to see how many customers I can get. And I'm in here, turning the flingers and the flangers and doing everything. And people find out I'm good. And, last year I was a janitor, and now I've got a garage, and I need to hire 2 more mechanics. That mindset isn't taught in America. You're just a janitor. Better go ahead and sweep these floors. No. Hey, man. That's why you see people coming from places like Cuba who might have to sweep the floors at first. And then they're like, well, you know what? Maybe if I built a better mop, I can sell this mop to other janitors. I know what they need. It's all a matter of your mind and being able to discern that you can do much more if just given the opportunity. I can't tell you myself how many times I look at things and go, I wonder if I can do that better. And what would it take for me to do that better? You're looking at it. None of this studio here and the monitors all over the place, the lights, none of this was here. I'm a real estate guy. I got bored. And I'm like, can I start a channel? Can I talk? Will people watch me talk? What do I need to do better? How do I edit? Oh man, editing, that's crazy. And you know what's funny and how I know it's true? I'm watching my daughter do it right now. Teacher. I've never done this stuff. Oh, you're doing, looking at your phone and the White House is calling you. I'm like, the White House is calling me? Yeah, because you built up a network. And they wanted, to see if you want to have certain person we talked to. You talked to the DHS. We had, Harry last week. We've had Tricia McLaughlin, who's now gotten much bigger, but we had her early. We talked to Kelly Loeffler. We talked to Laura Trump. How did it happen? Because somewhere somebody said, I can do this. True story. Every single one of you watching this channel must know it. She's my daughter. She was a teacher. She was never into networking. She was never into PR or communications. And then one day she's like, well, let me call Laura Trump. You see, that simple act of doing what people say you can't do or what you've never done can change your freaking life. That simple. I can't tell you how many times I sit back and go, look at her. Look at what she just did. Oh, she called Ted Nugent. Oh, she called Michael Flynn. And she just went for it. And then now she wants to start editing some of the videos. And it looks, when you open up an editing platform, it's daunting. There's nothing there that says, hey, let me show you how to do this. It's just a bunch of stuff, all kinds of buttons and everything else. And I guarantee you, within a month or two, she's going to know how to edit videos. The point of this matter is understanding where the opportunities are and how you can take advantage of them from scratch. Everything I just said to you, what Ashley's doing, didn't cost a dime. She had a phone. She did some research. She found out the phone number, the email, click, boom, boom. Yeah, that's it. No investment other than time and brain power. So tell me why you can't do something more. I just proved it to you. Prosperity is not a gift. Prosperity is earned. It's learned, not leered, it's learned. And what President Trump has afforded me and my family at this point, I tried my best to let people know, hey, you can do some stuff, right? I'm talking every single day, not every single day. I do talk to him every single day, SV. But we're working on some way, if I can convince him to put a camera in front of him, for him to do a segment to come on and do his breaking news stuff. Wink, wink. I'm sorry I had to put you out there like that, SV. Beth is now working with us in real estate. You just got to go for it. And he's going to make it available to you. This is something else he said. Do the people of Minnesota really want to live in a community in which there are thousands of already convicted murderers, drug dealers, addicts, rapists, violent and released and escaped prisoners, dangerous people from foreign mental institutions and insane asylums, and other deadly criminals too dangerous to ever mention? The answer to that question, but he didn't put a question mark, even though it was a question, is no. Nobody wants to live like that. All the patriots of ICE want to do is remove them from your neighborhood and send them back to the prisons and mental institutions from where they came, most in foreign countries, who illegally entered the USA through Sleepy Joe Biden's horrible open borders policy. Every place we go, crime comes down. In Chicago, despite a weak and incompetent governor and mayor fighting us all the way, a big improvement was made. Thousands of criminals were removed. Minnesota Democrats love the unrest and anarchists and professional agitators are causing, because it gets the spotlight off of the $19 billion that was stolen by really bad and deranged people. Fear not, great people of Minnesota. The day of reckoning, and this is the important part, and retribution is coming. President of the United States just told people in Minnesota, I'm coming for you. Yes, this is about retribution. This is about stomping out the crazies. To make no bones about it, every time I hear people say things like, he's out there on a revenge tour. You effing A right. Yes, that's the man we want. I want somebody to look you in the eye and go, oh, it's coming. Because the second thing is, stop me. And I know you can't. So reckoning and retribution are coming, which has got to be chilling to these people in Minnesota, because you can cry all day on television, but until you actually do something, I don't know what to do. I was going to save this stuff until tonight because I'm not sure with the dogs if I can go tonight. So let me just go with it right now.
We'll be talking about how well the economy is doing. As you know, the inflation numbers just came out, and we have very low inflation. So that would give Too-Late Powell the chance to give us a nice, beautiful, big rate cut, which would be great for the country. But rates are falling also. And growth.
So just with that, how many people hear that and don't understand why that's important? Can you get us our rate cut? Maybe people are thinking it's mortgage rates and everything else, but it's beyond that. The cheaper the money is, the less you pay in debt service. And so when you think of the big picture, if the tariffs are doing this and this is doing that, and how do you reduce your debt? There's only two ways you can reduce your debt. The debt becomes cheaper or you make more money. That's it. There are no other ways. I know Biden and some of the Democrats try to do forgiveness, but that's ridiculous. There's only two ways. You either make more money or you find a way to reduce your interest. Now, what happens when you do both? What happens if we're making more money and the interest is cheaper and we've cut off the waste and we've cut off the fraud and abuse? That number becomes a lot more realistic.
Is going up. We have tremendous growth numbers. So growth is going up. So I'll be talking about that today in Detroit. It's a big speech. And I can only say that the country's doing well. Well, he's billions of dollars over budget. So he either is incompetent or he's crooked. I don't know what he is, but
So Tom Tillis and Lisa Murkowski, who I saw, and a couple other people were complaining because he went after Jerome Powell. None of them asked the question about how is this billions of dollars overrun? They don't even want to know. Perhaps they were getting a kickback. I don't know. But the fact is, if you did any sort of work and the contractor came back and the price was 10 times higher, you're probably going to have some explaining to do, Lucy. You're not just going to pay it. You're going to want to know, how the hell did you spend this money?
Certainly doesn't do a very good job. We're getting rid of a lot of people that are criminals that shouldn't be in our country. They came in through Biden's open borders. And we're getting them out of our country. That's why our crime numbers are so good. We have record low crime numbers. You saw my statement on Iran. You saw my statement on Minnesota. On Minnesota, we have taken out killers, rapists, drug dealers, people from mental institutions that came in illegally. All of them, most of them came in illegally. They're from other countries. They came in under the Biden ridiculous open border policy. And we've gotten a lot of them out. We just had numbers from Chicago, where Chicago crime has gone down pretty good. It could go down 100% virtually, but we're fighting with that governor who's so incompetent. But as you know, we took out a lot of killers, murderers, drug dealers, drug addicts, mental institution people, and people from jails. We took them out of Chicago. So Chicago's got much better numbers now than it had a few months ago. We will get no credit for it, but these are minor details. Crime in Washington, D.C. is almost non-existent. It's a safe place, so people can come bring their families. They can send their son and daughter to look at Lincoln, Washington, Jefferson, or whatever they want to look at. but it's almost non-existent. We're very proud of that. Memphis is making tremendous strides, and so is New Orleans. We have a whole group of people, and crime in New Orleans is down about 65%. We've only been there for 3 weeks. So it's really amazing what's happening throughout the country. The crime numbers are among the best numbers we've ever had.
I let that run because I wanted you to hear something, because what he just said pretty much mirrors what you read on Truth Social, meaning he writes a lot of the stuff that gets posted. I don't think he's doing 100%, but he writes a lot of that stuff. That's him. And as you watch him do speeches like he did today, a lot of people say, oh, he must be losing his step. He keeps repeating himself. There's a reason why he's repeating himself. He's not repeating himself because his brain's not working. He's repeating the different things because the media won't say any of it. And so if there's few people who hadn't heard it before, if they haven't understood what's going on, he's hammering the point home. He knows it takes 7 to 10 times for somebody to hear something before they realize it's true. Except if it's, Ford backed the no kill thing, no kings thing, depending on who you listen to. And so he's just putting it out there. And you guys don't know this, but off camera, I ask every single person I talk to who's up in the Washington area, what's it really like? And that women, men are like, man, it's nice. We can actually do stuff. You're not afraid to get mugged or anything. A lot of those reporters live in Washington, and they never tell people that exact story. I was telling you about another CNN person. They not live, but they have a home down here. And I try to keep telling you, they follow conservative financial policy, even though they get on television and say, oh, Trump's really, really bad. You can tell they're lying. You just have to understand what they're doing and how they're doing it. I mean, a lot of us think sometimes Sean Hannity is just crazy, but Sean Hannity moved down here. Glenn Beck bought a house down here. I mean, people are moving here, and those guys are conservative because they know the policies. And the thing with these policies is they also know that it's a hedge. That hedge being in case something happens in 2026. In case something happens in 2028, I live in Florida. You can't touch my property. And so when I've been trying to tell people the moves, oh, by the way, and that goes all the way down to the $100,000 condo. You don't have to be living in a $5 million mansion on the water. If you live here, your house, you're not going to have to pay a lot of the stuff people in other areas pay.
But there were expectations that there would be some noise in there because of the shutdown. Markets have completely reversed course on this number, this lighter than expected number year over year. Dow Industrials now solidly positive, up 72. Luke Lloyd, your reaction to this market reaction?
This is what I call a Goldilocks number. Not too hot, not too cold. I think it's right there where it should be, right?
Because I'm very optimistic. More new highs, good GDP, closed southern border.
Joe, I'm with you on all those positives. I'm not disputing any of those. And the inflation number is one more reason to be optimistic. I think 2026 is going to be a very good year for the economy and the markets.
I think this shows how wrong Chairman Powell was back last May when he said at the Economic Club that tariff-induced inflation was going to be the Fed's big worry. And it turns out we don't have that. And the tariffs, meanwhile, have improved our fiscal situation. They have made us be more oriented to improving our domestic capabilities, manufacturing, and they've improved our trade balance.
Yeah.
And the numbers are coming out for our December read on Consumer Price Index. We're expecting a headline number up 0.3%, and it delivered. That's exactly what we received, up 0.3%. Now,
so as you're hearing this amazing financial news, that we're up. And at the same time, a couple of days ago, the unemployment numbers have dropped. But then it spikes a little bit because how they define unemployment. And if you don't know how they define unemployment, then that can make you not understand what the media is saying. They can only define unemployment based upon people who are looking for jobs. So if there are now more people looking for jobs, it's going to look like a higher unemployment. Why is that a good thing? Jeopardy music should be playing in your head right now. It means that these people aren't wasting away taking your tax dollars, sitting at home, eating Twinkies and watching old Jerry Springer reruns. That was where a lot of our money was going, and people now know we can't do this anymore. Nope. Get your butt out there and find a job. So immediately it was going to spike. It was designed to spike. It had to, because in order to get Shaniqua and her friends off of welfare, the only other thing they can do is now become unemployed, because now they're going to look for a job. I can't even understand how they have faked these numbers for so long by not even counting the people on welfare. If you're on welfare, you're unemployed. Why are they not counting? Why have they never counted people who are unemployed? That's just the math that the government has used. So now when they say unemployment has spiked, it's up 1.5 points in terms of unemployment. Yes, we want that. Did you ever think you'd want to see higher unemployment? Because the accompanying stat that you don't know is that all these people are getting their benefits cut off. So I would much rather you be unemployed looking for a job than sitting at home taking your money. You may not have ever realized that. That is a huge, huge number.
If you look at the previous month in August, it was up 0.4. September, it was up 0.3. So this fits right in. If you look at food and energy, known as core, on a month over month, it's 1/10 cooler than expected. It's up 0.2. Now, if you look at year over year, up 2.7 expected, 2.7 arrives. The one glimmer here on the year over year is the core comes in 1/10 light to expectations, but the 2.6 level is where we've been. And my favorite numbers, and they really are my favorite numbers, Joe. If we look at the index on the non-seasonally adjusted index, this started in 1913. The index number 324. And why is that important? Because once again, it's a new all-time high.
If you don't have data for comparison, none of what he just said makes any sense. You're like, I don't even know what the hell he's talking about. That's exactly it. You're watching the wrong stuff. Since, what did he say, 1930, 1913? Since they've been recording it, it's an all-time high. What should that tell you? Oh, things are really looking good. Yes, they're looking good, but instead, you're listening to people about Epstein. It is the biggest distraction I've ever seen, and it just keeps happening, and nothing's working, and Pam Body's not doing anything, and I'm like, are you not seeing this stuff? Do you not realize what is happening in our economy is making records that we've never seen before? Do you realize that gold is near, 4,600? Last time I checked, let me see what gold is like right now. Gold price right now is $45.93. It went down a little bit. It was over 46, and silver is 86.57. Again, we're talking about numbers you've never seen before. So as you keep hearing people talk like this and say, oh, that's a record. Oh, gold 4,600, silver 86. It is now becoming commonplace to see these records. That's how bad it is. People are like, oh, it's 86. Well, it was like 89 earlier this morning. Yeah, but it was 45 a couple of months ago. If you're not looking at the right data, if you're not looking at the right trends and understanding, like this man is saying right here, you're completely missing it.
Much, not all the time, but pretty much every month we get a new all-time high. 1913. And if you look at the 1957 rendition, which is the core CPI, it comes in at 331 and change. And of course, that's also an all-time high, which goes to all the great conversations you've had on Squawk Box. We don't want disinflation, really. We don't want deflation. And the compounding nature of what's going on probably isn't going to abate. So what's the real answer if we're all grown up about this? We're going to have to grow, and we're going to have to be patient, because time is going to heal this as these prices and various aspects of things like the housing industry become the new norm, and we become less sensitive to where history has been.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for explaining it right there. Things are different. This is not how it's supposed to be. This isn't how it's always been. It's so much different. Remember, rewind back to, October of 2024, where there was no oil in the strategic reserves. People were extremely struggling, and now there's so much prosperity. It seems like people think everything should be cheap and we should all be making money. And it's like, okay, so if you haven't enjoyed this meal, just wait. You're going to get your meal, but you have to be ready for it.
Back to you. The immediate reaction is right there. We were negative across the board. There's the dollar
down, on rates.
We were 420 on the 10-year earlier. We're 416. That's been sort of quiet. So, what was the?
And the stock market liked it.
Right. What are with what you just said? What are traders hanging their hat on primarily at this point?
Yeah, most likely we're not going to be getting to the Fed's target in any quick fashion, but there have been some wild cards that many traders didn't count on. Many thought energy would be much more sticky with respect to inflation, and we see what's going on, whether we agree or disagree, but what's going on with Venezuela most likely is going to pay dividends in a lower pricing for gasoline.
So there, understand. Even the other guy in CNBC. So what are we seeing here? What does this tell you? You're in the pits. What are the traders saying? Well, that should be a question for you. What are the traders talking about? What are the people who are actually spending money, who are spending other people's money to make more money? What are they doing? And he just we're about to see oil get much cheaper. Well, I don't know if you want to short oil, but at the same token, if things get cheaper, people are going to buy other things. Maybe you want to put your money where you think people are going to go. I mean, it was so funny. Saturday, it was nice and sunny, and my car got dirty, and we have a subscription to a car wash in the area. You can just get a monthly subscription, and most of the time, you come out the car wash, and then there's 7 bays, and the guys detail your car for you. And it's little things I notice. And the little things are, you come out the car wash and every single bay was packed. Everybody was getting their car detailed. And I look at these things and I say to myself, how can things be so bad, yet I'm looking at things that are so good? When Robin and I went out to dinner Saturday or Sunday night, and we went in, it was interesting because as we pulled up, we're like, it doesn't seem as crowded as usual. And he said, and I quote, because this week is usually the lull week. He goes, if you want to get in next weekend, book it now. Next weekend is going to be crazy because everybody goes home the first week of January to get, take care of things. And then they all come flying right back down. So I know now that where business is going to be, we're going to price our house and put it up for sale, the investment property, because now is the time. People have spent their money for Christmas. They've done their New Year's Eve partying, and now it's back to business. And I'm not the only one doing that, but there's a bunch of people getting ready to put different kind of properties on the market. You just have to read the signs.
On our local law enforcement is a violation of the 10th Amendment and the sovereign laws and powers of the Constitution grants to states. We allege that DHS's use of excessive and lethal force, their warrantless, racist arrests, their targeting of our courts, our churches, houses of worship, and schools are a violation of the Administrative Procedures Act on arbitrary and capricious federal actions. And we ask that the courts will end the surge of thousands of DHS agents into Minnesota. We ask the courts to end the DHS unlawful behavior in our state, the intimidation, the threats, the violence. We ask the courts to end the tactics on our places of worship, our schools, our courts, our marketplaces, our hospitals, and even funeral homes.
So that is obviously Keith Ellison, and Keith Ellison is the Attorney General of Minnesota. As I showed you last night, he is suing the government for DHS. He is all over the media right now complaining about stuff. If you listen to what he said, it doesn't make any sense, Keith. You're wasting your time. You're suing to stop enforcement. You're suing to protect criminals.
We're not saying that ICE cannot have a presence in Minnesota. We're saying the dramatic escalation, which is unwarranted and politically motivated, is harming our state and our cities.
This morning.
Well, what was interesting when he said harming our state, this is just one neighborhood in Minneapolis. And I read some other stuff that they've gone into other areas and they're doing this and doing that. The bottom line is, it is a federal government initiative that you have no control over. You have no control over it because your state is located in America, moron. And so this lawsuit means absolutely nothing. And I couldn't believe this when I saw this. CNN actually said, nah, it ain't going anywhere.
Minnesota and Illinois are suing the Trump administration, arguing that the president's immigration crackdowns in their states violate the Constitution. Both lawsuits lean on the 10th Amendment, protecting states' rights. Both lawsuits are now asking judges to halt the administration's crackdown operations that are ongoing in still a very big way, as we know. Minnesota says that the crackdown has terrorized its communities, put a strain on local police, and because of the clashes between protesters and ICE agents. The state says local police have been diverted from their usual duties because of all.
They have the remedy to cure, meaning they have the ability to stop this so-called terrorizing. They have the ability to stop everything that's happening. All they've got to do is cooperate and obey the law. When I told you earlier that Ron DeSantis has been able to deport 20,000 people, you don't turn on the television in Florida and see roads all crowded and people doing crazy stuff because they're cooperating. It's very simple. If you have the remedy, you have the key to your own prison cell, and you choose not to use it, how the hell can you ask the court for relief? You're saying things are happening bad and people are afraid and they're closing their business. Well, you have the key. Just cooperate. But you choose not to.
Of this, instead forcing them to work overtime, now costing taxpayers more than $2 million. Joining us right now is CNN senior legal analyst Ellie Honig. Ellie, let's focus in on the Minnesota lawsuit. What do you see in it? Do you think it is a strong case?
No, I don't, Kate. I've read both the Minnesota and Illinois lawsuits. They're really political diatribes masquerading as lawsuits. If you look at what both states are asking the courts to do, it's to kick ICE out of those states and cities and to bar ICE from carrying on federal law enforcement in Illinois and Minnesota. That's the top thing both states asked to do, and they cite zero precedent for that. There is zero precedent for that. There is no way a judge can say, you, federal law enforcement agency, you are not allowed to execute federal law in a certain state or city. I think
I have to correct him. There's no way a federal judge can say this legally. I would, if I was playing poker right now, I'd have to go all in that they'll find some judge to put an injunction, because these judges don't seem to care about the law. They just care about the cause. But even CNN is saying, this is loser. It means absolutely nothing.
The most that the states could get out of this, if they get sympathetic judges, is a judge who's going to ask questions of ICE, who's going to hold hearings, who's going to demand questions about how they're training, how they're carrying out their policy. You also could have judges that issue sort of symbolic orders along the lines of, ICE, you are not to violate the law, but that's already the case. It's already not allowed for ICE to violate the law. So these lawsuits, which appear to be coordinated, they're potentially powerful political statements, but I don't give them much of a chance of achieving the legal thing that they're asking for in the courts.
So if CNN is even saying, this ain't going to work, I don't know what you got to do. I mean, you can keep trying this stuff, but it's useless. They are fighting in futility. And they don't have to be. I mean, I don't know how you go in front of a judge and say, my arm hurts when, stop moving your arm. Stop fighting ICE. It's a losing battle. These people, now that he's ripped off the temporary protective status, now they don't even have a reason to be here. Now they have to leave. I think he gave them to May 3rd or something.
We have boots on the ground in Minnesota, and through our fraud.
Oh, by the way, this is Scott Turner. He's the head of HUD. And as he's talking, he's talking about some of the fraud they've uncovered in HUD. And it made me really think, what the hell did they do to Minnesota? Everything. I mean, it seems like every stone that's unturned shows more fraud in Minnesota. And God knows how long it's been going on, but it just seems like it's one big viper pit that has now been exposed. And instead of people in Minnesota saying, what the hell is happening, like the rest of us, I'm like, how could the entire state be one big fraud pit? How can the daycare, the autistic centers, the housing, everything? And that's why they're fighting. They're fighting because it's their lifeline. There's nothing left. As this stuff is beginning to uncover, people are realizing this is a complete cesspool. All of it. And even Keith Ellison is probably going to go to jail.
Prevention, we have found that there is likely over $84 million in eligible assistance that was given to the state of Minnesota during the Biden administration, including almost $500,000 in improper assistance to over 500 dead tenants. And so you think...
If you don't laugh at this stuff, it'll make you cry. I'm sorry. Did you just say they gave $500,000 to dead people? I think that's what he just said. The people in Minnesota, one state, one location, have given nearly $500,000 of your money to dead people. And they don't even want to account for it. They don't even want people looking. You think it's bad with Jerome Powell and everybody freaking out about, hey man, how did you spend $1 gazillion on a building? They gave $500,000 to people who are dead. Heads gotta roll. Gotta roll.
Think about that, Tony. Over $84 million of hardworking taxpayer money that was shelled out during the Biden administration in improper assistance and serving over 500 dead people with almost $500,000 of assistance. This is a lack of stewardship. It's gross negligence. But I'm grateful at this time that our team on the ground has found these improper payments, and we will hold those accountable that are responsible for this.
For default.
Who cashed the checks? Who got the deposits? Who spent the deposits? The dead people obviously didn't go to the bank. The dead people didn't sign the back of the check. So now the forensic stuff that's going on, again, as you're seeing, as this stuff is uncovered, people keep saying Bondi's not doing anything. Can you even imagine the size, the scope of what they keep finding? She may sometimes, her and Jeanine Pirro, and they like, I think we got What is all this? Who opened this box? 500 dead people? Where'd the money go? Who spent it? And now we got to have somebody go track all that down. Where'd that money go? How many years? I don't know how long these dead people have been getting money in Minnesota. My gosh, man. And Scott Bessent, he says something here that should chill people in Minnesota.
Following the money, there are evidently some disturbing tapes of A.G. Ellison in meetings with people who donated to him, them calling for political favors to stop the investigations. So we'll see. But again, I don't want to get out ahead of the investigations. It's going to be very methodical. And Chris, I can guarantee you, when the bear trap snaps, we're going to get these folks. And again, we're going to follow the money, whether it's over the two counties here, in Minneapolis, St. Paul's, or whether it's to East Africa. And there's tons of luxury properties, cars that have been bought over there. And
when the bear trap snaps, I guarantee you we're going to have them. This guy wouldn't go on a podcast or something and say that. There's no way you would say something that definitive. We got him. Bam. Bam. Once that bear trap snaps. Please let it snap soon, because there's too many panicans and rhinos out here who just won't look at this stuff. They won't pay any attention. I only saw that piece of video from Scott Bessent because I happened to be doing research on something else. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't see it on the news. I don't see anybody talking about it. That a bear trap, and those of you who are hunters, the interesting thing that he said there, those of you who are hunters, bear traps don't fall out of the sky. Bear traps have to be set. They have to be placed in the right place so that as the bear comes along, bang. So is he intimating that the Trump administration has set traps that these people don't even know are out there? And they're just walking into them one at a time, and it's snapping on them. Because that's the only way. It had to be traps. You know why? Because there's no other way you could guarantee we're taking them down. I guarantee is what he said. You can't guarantee anything unless you know you've done something and they stepped in it. Anybody want to challenge that? Because I would know. Hey, let's say I'm a hunter and I don't know if anyone stepped in my trap. So I'm going to have to go out into the woods and see if there's anything caught, unless I've got some sort of camera on it. He already knows they caught something in the trap. It's already there. It just needs to get revealed. I can't wait.
I get a little upset when some people say, well, you know, the American people are selfish. We spend over $1 trillion a year helping our neighbors who are less fortunate than us, mostly the poor. In our country, I've said this before, if you're hungry, we'll feed you. If you're homeless, we'll house you. If you're too poor to be sick, we'll pay for your doctor. Other countries let their fellow citizens die in a ditch. We don't do that in America. The American people have stepped up to the plate. So when people steal this money, this $1 trillion plus a year that we spend helping our neighbors, when people steal that money, it offends me. When they steal from the poor and they steal from the American taxpayer, it offends me equally. And the folks in Minnesota and elsewhere who stole this money, who took a giant Great Dane whiz down the leg of every taxpayer and poor person in America, every one of them ought to go to jail.
The man is eloquent. I don't think I've ever heard it put that way. If somebody took a big Great Dane-sized whiz down the leg of America and just expected us to take it. And at this point, It's not an if, it's a when all of this stuff comes crumbling down. And every single day when I'm doing research for shows and putting things together, I keep seeing it. And I keep seeing the disconnect from people who supposedly are, patriots. And they keep saying nothing's happening. And I'm like, how can you possibly have that mentality that nothing is happening? You have to be working in collusion with people who don't know what the hell they're talking about. You're just doing it for clicks and likes. How can you not be experiencing prosperity? If you're so starved for clicks and likes, then you're not even doing it correctly. You can be broke and still get clicks and likes, or you can do something and make your life better. I personally want to keep working. I want to keep pushing the envelope. I want to do as much as I possibly can, however much time God gives me on this rock. And so I am never going to sit back and go, yeah, it sucks. Trump sucks. Nothing's happening. I don't need him to give me anything. I don't want him to give you anything. I just want him to open the Red Sea just to get you as much opportunity and then for you to run through that tunnel. That's what I'm all about. So tonight, I don't know if I'll be able to do a show tonight because, as you know, Robin is in Las Vegas with her sister who did very well in her surgery. And I've been here since 12 o'clock. That's 4 hours. I have to go home and work with the hounds that are sitting there. And I don't know, I'm going to have to take them to the doggy park or something and spend some time with them. And we'll see. And I could possibly go live, but I'm not really sure at this point. I'll post something if I do go live tonight. But I know I got to spend some time trying. I don't even know what they've done to the house at this point. I'm hoping I go home and they haven't ripped up pillows and stuff because they've been alone for 4 hours. She asked me if she wanted me to put him with the sitter. I'm like, no, I'm good. I'll be home. I'll be there. I can feed him and everything. But last night was fun. Not. All right, so let me go ahead and do some super chats. Ooh, that looks really big, and then we'll possibly see you guys tonight. There we go. All right, Pekoski, thank you very much. Twice, thank you again. Tommy Giannico. Tommy, you did a super chat last week. And I missed it, and I forgot to mention it the day after. So thank you very much. And then thank you very much for this one as well. Good afternoon. I just don't understand all this transformer stuff. I'm a boomer just like you, and I don't remember boys wanted to play girl sports. No, not only did we not want to play girl sports, if there were other guys acting girly, we took care of them. Remember? Yeah. By the way, I bought 2 gold coins yesterday. Cha-ching. You go. But yeah, this whole transformer, I heard somebody say something today was really funny, is if anybody can switch whenever they want to switch, how does one always keep trying to say we need to elect more women if you don't know what a woman is? It's too confusing. I don't know. Chiosop, they should make the Ford 4547 lib will freak instead of the 150. Hockey grants. I think President Trump is taking up the tariff so he can apply pressure to Congress to enact them if he loses the SCOTUS decision. I'm positive that he and Scott Bessent and Howard Lutnick have a plan if the Supreme Court rules against them. Rob, thank you. Oh, Rodney Rosado, thank you very, very much. Oh, yeah, thank you. Let me get some applause for that. Woo, thank you. You guys make it so worthwhile. And I'm not just talking about the super chats and things of that nature, but I know you have many opportunities to watch shows on different channels and all kinds of things. So I really appreciate that you spend 2 and 3 hours here. I really do, 2 or 3 hours. I wonder what happened if I would just start doing 60-minute shows. I don't even know. Pekoski, I'm not sure if you got my email about a week ago. Not sure if I did either. You'd have to tell one of the mods what your real name is so I could check it out. Or if you do send us an email, put in your handle so I know who you are. So if your name is Fred Smith, you can put in the email, hey, I'm Fakowski on YouTube, then I would know. Chio Shop, norms only work for the deep state, now is different. Exactly. I mean, I've always loved the phrase, it's time to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And I think that's something I would urge every single one of you to do, is to break out of whatever mold you're in. I know a lot of people are retired and they get older and they get set in their ways, and it doesn't feel good to have to adjust. Now's the time to start being comfortable being uncomfortable. C-arm, Tim Walz twisted Trump's ex-post to claim that it was proof that Trump was targeting the Minnesota people as retribution. Can you believe that guy? I don't care what he takes it as. I hope they take it as retribution. Yes, that's indeed what he's going to be doing. They're showing some of this stuff, and it's just the same knuckleheads out in the street. Baddies, I'm a millennial and I am dark gothic MAGA. Many of my peers rage for the machine, but not me. That's because they rage with the machine at this point, not against the machine. Sue, hi Barry, you should get Susan Kokinda from Promethean on. She is awesome and has lots of information regarding the deep state. Ashley can look into that. Thank you. Peaceful Haven. Yes, Barry, learn to earn. I emailed you yesterday about this very thing and what we've done here, aiming for where the puck will be. All right, so Peaceful, same thing. Please put your handle in the email so as I open it, or if Ashley opens it, we know exactly where it's coming from and who sent it, because it's very hard if I don't see that. Picasso again, let me feel dead once every month. And Donna, hello. I always think about how rich we would be if we weren't losing billions monthly and yearly. Their fraud has affected every single one of us. Just imagine over a course of time how much in taxes between income and real estate and sales that you pay. Gas. And N1 traded in my silver yesterday, made 16 grand. Thanks, Barry. Oh my gosh, 16. Ooh, there you go. I love seeing that. 16,000. But why'd you trade it in? You should have held just a little bit longer. But everybody has their thresholds, and I'm glad that you were able to make that happen. All right, so I'll see you guys. Maybe tonight, not sure. Got to take care of the dogs and see what's going on. And also, I want to spend some time talking to Robin about her sister and make sure she's okay out in Vegas. So we'll see. I'll post something if I go live. Thanks, everybody. Hey, I had to jump back on because I got a late super chat, and I wanted to make sure that's SB. That's SB hitting me up right now. Late super chat that I didn't want to go unrecognized. This is from Stella. I just got on here, so I have to rewind and watch your whole video. But I did see something today that said there was going to be a national protest against Donald Trump on January 20th. Just wondering if you heard that. Yes, I did hear that. I heard there's going to be an insane protest on January 20th where a whole bunch of these people are going to just decide to not go to work as if they work. So yes, there is going to be a protest. Obviously, it'll mean something in some cities. Probably for the most part, it won't mean much to, where you live, and it won't be much here. So just look out for yourselves, look out for your friends and family. But on January 20th, which is obviously they're trying to tie it into the inaugural, anniversary, they're not going to go to work, which won't be a loss for many people. So, but thank you very much for that late super chat.
News.